Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 193 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. My name's Dave McCrae, coming to you live from the Voiceman Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in Atlanta, Georgia, and tonight we're going to talk about the Thanksgiving trailer, but we're going to also dive into these Exorcist believer reviews. It comes out this weekend, the long-awaited sequel. Well, there's been a couple of them, but we're going to talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, episode 193. I know it's been a while, but hey, we're trying to get them in when we can, and tonight happens to be one. It's 10 o'clock, it's 10:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so a late night show, but hey, it's great to talk about horror when it's dark outside.
Especially in October.
Especially in October, exactly. Tony, how are you? How have you been?
Getting domesticated.
You're getting domesticated.
Domesticated every day, every week. No, it's good. It's good. I wouldn't change anything for the world other than like, a few things here and there. But you get used to it and whatnot, and you don't realize once you. Respect to those who have been married for a long time too, because I'm learning a lot of shit. When you merge your lives together, like what I've done here recently, it's like, man, all of a sudden you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this, you got this to go, do that to it. It's like, whoa, what the hell? Like,
that's it.
You don't realize it. Like, in Dave, believe me, Dave and I we talk all the time on, on Facebook and shit through voice messenger and stuff, and it's like. Next thing you know, we would be trying to plan a show, and next thing you know, like we're trying to think of an idea, and like, oh, we got time, and next thing you know, it's like already fucking Wednesday again. Like, what the fuck? Like it would go by so fast, and because you're doing household stuff, and you're building a life together, and whatnot. And it's like it's
that's it.
It is what it is, and but got to still make time to do this once in a while to give myself a little bit of a break, right?
Of course. Are you able to turn up your microphone a little bit on your end? If it's, is it all the way up? I just want to.
Yeah,
it is okay. Maybe it's just the program.
Let's see.
Just a smidgy if you can. It doesn't have to be a lot. I've got you cranked up here, but I want to make sure we're, fairly even. If you're all the way up, it's okay.
That's what she said.
That's it.
I'm back. Check. That's better?
Good. Yeah, that's better.
All right, cool.
Yeah, that's better. I think that'll be better for the audience too. I think we'll be a little more even. So
yeah, everything other than that is good. I mean, I've been out of the loop on a lot of shit. Like I was telling Dave before the stream, I had no fucking clue about this news about Halloween and the rights being bought by or shopped to A24. No idea. No fucking clue. No clue about this trailer about Thanksgiving, because Dave hit me up this morning. He's like, hey, dude, we want to talk about this trailer Thanksgiving? I'm like, what the fuck? There's a movie called Thanksgiving? Like, I just totally fucking oblivious right now.
Well, dude, you're busy, man. I mean, you're really busy, and again,
work-wise, well, you know that I've been extremely busy with work.
Yes,
yes. We're doing everything we're doing around the home and whatnot. It's just, I told Dave, man, by the time freaking Saturday rolls around, all I want to do is fucking eat pizza and watch college football and just leave me the fuck alone. I just don't want to be bothered. I just want to watch college football for 12 hours straight. Eat my large cheese pizza like fucking Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone and just leave me alone.
That's it. That's exactly it. No, I totally get it. So, but here we are, episode 100.
Although I didn't get a chance to congratulate you on Dylan's new nightmare. So that was because I haven't been on here since then. And that was good shit. We both liked it. I showed her Wes Craven's New Nightmare first, so she understand how this was all connected and whatnot. She was like,
"Oh, wait,
I was like, yeah." Miko, she was.
I didn't hear you there for some reason. You.
Oh yeah, she was like, "Oh my god, he's working with that kid." Like,
oh okay.
You know what I mean? I kept saying, Miko, like, you know him. Like, I know you know him from back in the day. Being on Full House and whatnot. Yeah. Actually, what's funny? My first memory of him, Miko, and seeing him was on Beverly Hills 90210. he makes a guest. He plays in a dream sequence as Samantha Sanders, Steve's mom's son on the TV show that she does and her character does on the show. And Miko Hughes plays a small little role. And that was my first time remembering him as an actor, even though obviously I had seen Pet Sematary. I just didn't make the connection that that's the same kid.
Sure.
Till years later. But yeah, man, you guys did well, first of all, you did a fucking badass job as Freddy. She even said, tell Dave, I said, he did a really good job as Freddy. The only, there were a couple things that I would have done different. I would, because you were so fucking good at it. If I was doing it, I would have held back on your reveal. You know what I mean? Like I would have made the audience earn that reveal of what, showing you in all your glory and whatnot. Maybe just added a little, maybe have Miko have a girlfriend or a fiance or a wife or something that can tie him, like like a vulnerability for him that he doesn't want to see someone get hurt. You know what I mean? Obviously everything's on a budget and whatnot, and money talks and bullshit walks, as they say. But for what you guys did, I was like, whoa, I want to see more.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's the idea. I'm sure Cecil has lots of. But it was really good. Really, really good. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And like anything, I mean, you put it out there, and some people are gonna like it, some people are not gonna like it, and that's art.
Fuck the naysayers.
No, but that's the way. But I respect that. I mean, that's the way it is, and but I was very pleased. And again, like on the film, I'm only an actor on the film, so I was very focused on my role, of course, as Freddy, and I was very pleased by the feedback and the response, and people seem to really like it. And like I said, if I never play Freddy again, I hope that, and it's not to say that I won't. I mean, if they end up raising the money to do a next part, which it's going to be a lot of money, because he wants to just do it all, like what Vince has done with Never Hike Alone 2. He doesn't. A lot of money. It is, and it's more expensive than Jason and Black Christmas, because you're dealing with Freddy and you're dealing with the dream world. I mean, just to make me up into Freddy, so the prosthetics, the makeup, and everything, it's thousands of dollars just on me. And I don't mean paying me. I mean making me into Freddy is thousands of dollars. Right. So it's, and the dream world and everything. But Cecil's right. He says, I don't want to take the next 10 years of my life and make 5 more 30-minute installments. I mean, because it would take that long. I mean, look how long it took to do this one. He says, so my goal is that if people really like this, then I will hopefully try to do what Vince did with Never Hike Alone 2, raise several $100,000 to really get it going, and just do a feature, which is the second part. And so I'm not a producer on the project. I have no say on that. That's all on his side. But I get it. I totally understand it.
And you never know. This could also be another Lights Out thing where the studio see what you guys did. Like with Lights Out and how that became a feature. As well too, that the studio heads out there, because I said this to you when I saw it, and I sent you the message. I said there's only one other guy, and I forgot about him until like recently. I don't know why he popped into my head, but there's only 2 guys on YouTube, and I can't remember that dude's name now, who literally should either, if you don't get the part of Freddy in a future movie, then it should go to this guy. I don't know who he is.
Oh, it's probably Paul Bailey.
Yes, thank you.
Paul Bailey.
You two are probably the only people that I would ever strongly consider playing the part of Freddy, because the thing of it is like, it's like I told you, on the phone with you, is that you didn't try. I didn't feel like you were trying to impersonate Robert Englund. You know what I mean? You just embodied the character of Freddy, and you just carried on what Robert laid out for you. Same thing with that dude that you just mentioned there. He does the same thing where it's, I don't feel like he's trying to imitate Robert Englund. He's just continuing on what was already created. And man, it'd be like such a huge missed opportunity if they do a Nightmare movie, whatever they fucking plan to do with it, is if the studios just didn't even give you or him a consideration for the part.
Well, I think like with Paul and Paul and I have talked since the release of Dylan's New Nightmare. Paul's video is it's not a movie. It's just like a 3.5 minute sort of reel of him in prosthetic Elm Street 2 style makeup, in moody atmospheric lighting, and he's lit himself really well, and he's doing the Robert sort of esque isms and trying to really get, and it's so good and it's so well done that if you didn't if you weren't really paying attention, you would think it was like deleted scenes from Elm Street 2 or something.
Exactly.
But the most impressive, I think the most impressive, and he's good. Don't get me wrong, he's good. But it's still. It's just sort of snippets of him kind of in poses and this kind of stuff. I'd love to see more. We need more, something more. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, like we need to see him in context, right? In terms of like a scene that plays out and all that kind of stuff. And there's nothing to say that he can't do that. But I think with that reel, and he's good. He's very good. But I think what's most impressive about that is the makeup. He's a makeup effects artist. So he actually, I don't know if this is right, made that makeup, molded it. He, as far as I know, and Paul, if you ever see this, you can correct me in the if I'm wrong, you applied that makeup yourself. He applied that prosthetic makeup, which is wild. Listen, I sat in a makeup chair for 5 and 6 hours with Nora Hewitt applying that shit on me. I can't even imagine. Now, mind you, he's an effects artist, so he probably knows how to, but I'm thinking, I can't even imagine applying that to myself. Like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I wouldn't even know what to do. And so that is really impressive. The fact that everything you see there, and I believe it was like 8 or 9 pieces, that he applied that to himself. So no, it looks fantastic. He looks great. I would love to see him in a short film, like a fan film or something, where he's in that. I know he did a fan film recently where he plays a younger Robert, and he did a prosthetic for his face, so he has more of the Robert nose, and he looks great. He looks great. Yeah. So yeah, shout out to Paul. I mean, he's extraordinarily talented, and but at the very least, like if I don't get to play and I'm not under any sort of delusions that I somehow am going to. I'm just saying, whoever it is, if it's not me and it's not Paul and it's not whoever it is, I hope that, and I can't speak for Paul, so I'll just speak for myself. At the very least, I hope that my portrayal as Freddy, and I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again, at the very least has shown fans out there that it can be done, because there's a lot of no one but Robert, and I've never subscribed to that. It could be because I'm an actor, so I don't really subscribe to that. You'll find that a lot of actors don't subscribe to that. Now, we understand that Robert will always be a certain generation's Freddy. Yeah, like Harrison Ford will always be my Indiana Jones. But to sit here and say that no one could ever play Indiana Jones ever again in the history of humankind ever is just ridiculous, right? Like you know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. Of course, there's somebody else out there that can do it. Nobody thought that anybody could play the Joker, and then along comes Heath Ledger, and then nobody ever thought that you could play. Nobody's ever going to play. And along comes Joaquin Phoenix, and so like, of course there are, of course it can be done, but there's an emotional, nostalgic attachment to Robert's Freddy, which makes sense, and especially coming off of Jackie Earle Haley and all that kind of stuff. And he wasn't the main problem either, but coming off of that, it's not really a high for the franchise, and so I get it, I understand it. The thing is too with Robert's Freddy, it was almost like the perfect storm for him to be cast as the character, and the era that it was in, the 80s, you know what I mean? Yep. And everything that that entire decade embodied, which was Freddy was king next to Jason. Freddy he wasn't just, this character. I mean, when the president of the United States is making a reference to Nightmare on Elm Street in one of his speeches,
yeah, you're on a whole nother fucking playing field at that point, you know? And Reagan did. I don't know if you've ever seen that clip of Reagan making the, you know, whatever he says.
I have.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, for those of you who are young, you young bucks out there who did not get to experience what Dave and I experienced as kids in the 80s, like, Freddy fucking ruled. But again, it wasn't just in the movies, it was in the pop culture zeitgeist. I mean, it was that perfect storm of the perfect time. That's what we'll never probably see again. Whoever plays the role of Freddy, and you're not going to see that pop culture phenomenon.
Well, what's in character? Like what? I'm trying to think of something now that's in pop culture.
It's just everything, like, you know, Freddy being on MTV.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I'm just trying to think of something now that would be the equivalent. It would be like
shit.
And it doesn't have to be horror. It could just be anything. It would be like
Taylor Swift.
Like Taylor Swift. Yeah. No, it's true.
It's true. Girls blowing up the NFL now. You know what I mean? Like,
no, but that is true. That's exactly what it was like. Anyway, we digress. But
But I just wanted to, you know, because I never got a chance to. We never haven't done a video since then.
No, we haven't, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I had a lot of fun doing it, and it was an honor to do it. And again, I didn't have I mean, because it's such a short, you know, film, and I didn't have a lot of time to flex too much. But hopefully it will continue, and I'll be able to show more and get even darker and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But we'll see. Yeah. Like I said, if I never play him again for whatever reason, Cecil can't raise the money, or, you know, I don't, who knows? Again, that's out of my hands. Then I hope that I, at the very least, have shown that it can be done. And also all I will say is, I won't say too much beyond this. I'll say this, that there are certain, I do know there are certain people, I'm not going to say who or how, but there are certain people that are affiliated with the Elm Street franchise. And I don't mean, you know, the caterer. I mean important people affiliated with the Elm Street franchise, that have seen it and have been very impressed by it.
Very cool.
But I'm not. I mean, I'm not a producer on the project, so they don't. You know what I mean? It's, you know, whatever comes from that, that's Cecil's territory, right? But I do know that I was informed of that, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah, and I mean, like, high up. So it's kind of cool.
Fingers crossed.
You never know. So let's dive into Thanksgiving, and then we'll talk about The Exorcist here. So Thanksgiving, this is a movie that stems from a fake grindhouse 70s type trailer in whatever movie it was. I forget what movie it was in, Death Proof or the other one, I can't remember. But it was this, maybe it was Death Proof and Grindhouse? Was the two? No, I can't. God, it's been so long. Anyway, and I did a fucking TV spot for that, you know, those films. And it stems from this. Eli Roth has made this into a horror movie, very 80s kind of feeling horror movie. And the reason why I wanted to just touch on it is because, as you know, Tony, we often get asked, you know, about, you know, do we think we're ever going to get another slasher villain like Freddy? Do we think we're ever going to get another one like Jason or Michael, or like, you know, whatever the case is? And, you know, I always say that the probability of that is, it depends. Like, you know, the slasher subgenre as a whole generally is not what it was 40 years ago. In the 80s, the slasher subgenre was getting major, wide theatrical releases like Friday and Elm Street. Not all of them, of course. I mean, there's a lot of B slasher. Well, the slasher subgenre has always been kind of B movie. So, you know, it's not like the Friday the 13th movies have been A films. But they were getting theatrically released movies. They made a lot of money relative to its time period. And then horror, like it always has over the years, has evolved, right? It evolves, it changes. We get into, you know, goes from slasher into like supernatural, into found footage, into paranormal, into, you know, whatever, right? It evolves. And I don't know if the slasher subgenre will ever be huge again with Again,
not like what we got in the 80s.
No. Now, some people might say, well, hang on a second. What about the Halloween movies? What about this one? But I'm talking about original IP.
Original ideas.
Original ideas.
Not established.
Not established. Of course, the Halloweens are going to do well. The Fridays are going to do well. You look at the mainstream, theatrically wide released slasher movies of the last number of years. Halloween, Friday in 2009, that's a long time ago now, but Elm Street in 2010, that's a long time ago. Child's Play, Candyman, Scream, Saw. They're all IPs that have been around for a long time. Like, it's not like we're getting anything new, right? So the question is, do we think we're ever going to get something new, a new villain that could inject some freshness into the slasher subgenre in terms of mainstream, not stuff that you find buried on, Netflix, or something like that. Like, I don't think any of the, people like Hatchet, but I don't think any of the Hatchet movies have had major wide release theatrical. I don't think.
If I go up to an average Joe on the street, they ain't gonna even know that movie existed.
Yeah. I mean,
but you go up to an average Joe, you go up to an average Joe on the street and say Freddy Krueger, they know.
Oh, of course. So I'm particularly interested, although this stems from, like, there's a bit of a tongue-in-cheekness to this movie because of its inception, because it stems from a fake trailer. So, like, I get there's a bit of, like, kind of cheekiness to it, but if it's really good and the trailer looks like it could be, it may be a total disaster, but it definitely has that 80s kind of flavor to it. I don't know, maybe, and it's getting a wide release, a Thanksgiving theatrically release. This is an original IP, original slasher, as far as I know. Yes, it's based on that fake thing from, years ago, but this is not Freddy, it's not Jason, it's not Michael, it's not Chucky, it's not Ghostface, it's not Leatherface, it's not Jigsaw, it's not Candyman, it's different. So I hope all of you out there who are pining for a new slasher villain will go and watch the movie theatrically. Will go take your, $15 or whatever it is and support the film. That doesn't mean you're going to like it, but go and support it because, maybe it will be good. I don't know. But Tony, you watched the trailer. You weren't crazy on it, but you watched the trailer, and what did you think?
Well, listening to you, I had no idea. Now, when you say was the mock trailer in the movie that this is based off of, was that set in the 70s?
I think it was. I think you can watch the mock trailer on YouTube. It's got a very grindhouse
because
70s
if that is the case,
kind of thing.
Then I feel like then that's a missed opportunity because I would have.
I've heard that.
I would have preferred this maybe be in the 70s, a period piece. You know what I mean?
Right.
That would have kind of like what they did with X, and how that was set in the 70s and had that vibe. And that 35 millimeter type, look to the film. I just, I'll see it when it comes to streaming. I don't think it's going to be one, that me and her will rush, or even myself for that matter, will rush to the theater and be like, I'm going to go see it. I didn't even know this thing existed until you had mentioned it to me this morning. I don't know. Like, I mean, I get what you're saying, that we don't have.
Well, you and I are not pining for a new slasher villain either, right? So
the last iconic, like legit iconic horror character that we could say, like, who's in the pop culture that people would recognize, probably Ghostface. I mean, I'm trying to think anybody, I know people might make an argument for Art the Clown, but Art the Clown really is in the horror community. You go and say Art the Clown to the average person, they have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah, no, Art the Clown.
By now, most people know Ghostface. They get it because they've seen it. It's, Scream is everywhere. So I would say for us, the last like iconic, horror villain. And the thing with Scream is that it's not one person who plays Ghostface. Yeah. It's the costume of Ghostface that people know.
It's the symbol. But Nighttime in the chat here says he's right. Yeah, the villain in the movie is John Carver. Carver, like carving a turkey. Yeah. I love it. So it's a good. Who knows? Will I mean, is this the beginning? Is Thanksgiving? Is it going to be us? And a sleeper hit. It doesn't have to be great. It just has to be good. And who knows, maybe John Carver in 20 years will look back at John Carver the way we look back at
I could end up watching this and being like, damn, that was fucking good.
Damn, holy fuck, that was really good. John Carver, baby.
John Carver, baby.
I don't know. I mean, you never know. But that's why I just wanted to touch on it, because I know that, like, you and I are not necessarily pining for this, but I know there are a lot of people out there that really would love a new slasher villain. Now, you could say, okay, Art the Clown, right? Because I know some people in the chat are saying Art the Clown. So
I get it.
Art
Within
the Clown,
horror community, yes, I get it.
And Art the Clown, Terrifier 2 did have a theatrical release. It was slow. It was sort of the way that they used to do independent films way back in the day, like Halloween.
Yeah, you don't get to see that like that anymore. That's true.
No, you don't.
Good point.
You play in some small cities, get some buzz, get the word out, and then it extends and extends and extends. And listen, there's no ways about it. I mean, Terrifier 2 was shot for about $250,000, and it made something like, I don't know, 15 to 20 million worldwide or something like that. It is a huge success.
He's doing a third one, right?
He is. He is. And huge success. There's no bones about it. Art the Clown, Terrifier 2 is a huge success. No bones about it. However, and I say this because I think it's important that, yes, in the horror community, he's become a very quickly a horror icon within the horror community that some people outside of the horror community may recognize, may know because of whatever reason, but he's not yet at a level anywhere near a Freddy or a Jason or a Michael, and he doesn't have to be either. Like, this isn't like, it's not a competition here, but he's not there yet. He hasn't crossed the threshold of the horror genre into the pop culture zeitgeist. He was knocking on that door. Like when you get people on The View and Howard Stern talking about it, well, that's knocking on that door, right? That's what Tony and I are sort of, that's what it means, when to cross the threshold out of your own, from out under your own shadow into a pop culture zeitgeist, where the average person on the street, not everybody, of course, not everybody you ask on the street is going to know who Ghostface is, but there's a high probability, very high, because of where he is now in the pop culture, that most people would go, maybe they won't say Ghostface, but somebody might go, Scream, right? Oh, Scream, Ghostface. Oh, that Scream. You're going to get that. You show Terrifier, there's no doubt somebody will, but you're probably going to get more, is that Pennywise? Or is that, I've seen him. I'm not quite. So Terrifier 3, which is going to get a wider theatrical release from the get-go, right? Should help that. Absolutely, that should help that. And there's a shtick around it, right? Not to knock, I don't know what Damien Leone is going to do with Terrifier 3, but the shtick, the hook around the Terrifier films is that they are, it's you go for the shock. You're not going for the story necessarily. You're not going for the characters. You're going to get grossed out. That's the hook, right? To see, you are going to see how gross it's going to be and how bloody it's going to be and how bloodier it's going. That's the hook, right? That's the shtick. Whether that has staying power or not, I don't know. Or if it's it could be a fad. It's, fleeting. It comes and goes. I think there has to be more to it than just that to have staying power, because otherwise it's just, exploitative, right? At that range. And so I think in Terrifier 3, I think Damien, I've read anyway, that he's going to dial back the sort of the cheesy campiness and go kind of get back to the roots of it being darker and more serious. And I think that is not that he can't have his, signature blood and guts, but I think if you make it scary again, I think that's only going to help Art. And who knows, in 20 years from now,
make scary great again.
Right. And in 20 years from now, maybe we'll be looking at Art the Clown the same way that we look back, back at certain other people. But as you've pointed out, and you're right, and again, it's a different time now. It's very different how things are measured and with social media and all this kind of stuff. But when somebody crosses the threshold of the genre that they're in into the pop culture zeitgeist, you are essentially at a level where you are defining a generation.
Yep.
So when you think of the 80s, when somebody is going to draw a mural on the wall of the 80s, right? What are things that you're likely to see? Michael Jackson. There, Madonna, right? Michael Jackson, Madonna, Back to the Freddy,
Jason,
Jason,
Back to the Future.
But it would be the DeLorean,
E.T.,
right? E.T., Spielberg. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I don't know if people was to. I don't know if somebody was to do a mural of the 2010s, right? Which is when the first Terrifier came out in 2016. Or I think it was. I don't think yet that art would be. I mean, in horror, yes. If you got a horror guy to do a mural, sure. But in a general sense, I don't even know
what you would put up there in the 2010s.
Well, things have changed. Well, it would probably you'd probably have like Trump. Right, you'd have Trump up there. You'd have, Lord. But I'm just saying, right? You'd have like in the 80s, you'd have Reagan, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
And so, it's important that we understand that to when you get to that level and you're like defining a whole generation, that's a very, very different level. You can be really successful and you can be really popular and you can be really recognized, but it's a very different level when you are in the zeitgeist. That's a very, very different level. And Art, I'm not saying he's not going to get there, but I don't think he's there yet. I think he's set the roots and he's definitely really popular in the horror genre for sure. People know him and he's getting little figures and buttons and masks, and that's great. That's great. We'll see how history treats Art in 20 years. You know what I mean? And that's how, it's going to be. So, but Thanksgiving, I hope it's good. I hope Thanksgiving is good because I know a lot of people really want a new slasher villain, and maybe John Carver is it. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. John Carver. Let's talk about, of course, The Exorcist Believer is... Harry Hagen's like the beef Alf. That's right. Where's the beef Alf? Yeah, Alf for sure. The alien.
Alf would be
on there. He defined the 80s. And so the 90s, right? You'd have Kurt Cobain on there. You'd have, the Backstreet Boys.
You'd probably have the 90210 cast on there.
90210. That's what I'm talking. Like defining a generation, right? It's a very different level. That's what I mean when you're in when you're at that level, it's insane. It's crazy.
I think what it is, though, the reason why we don't have that today, and why very few people stand out like a Taylor Swift, is that social media now, anybody can be popular.
Well, that's it.
And anybody can. Being famous isn't like what it once was when you and I were younger, where there was something to it. There was something like unreachable, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Now with social media, anybody can have followers.
And social media now has basically demystified celebrity. So now what has happened is, and not that every celebrity is online, but now what's happened is the ease of access to information at our fingertips has demystified everything. I mean, now even Michael Myers in many ways, like I remember in the 80s, okay? I remember as a young kid growing up in the 80s, my favorite hockey team is the Buffalo Sabres, always has been. Mm-hmm. And in the 80s, there was a goaltender by the name of Tom Barrasso. And he got traded in like 88 or 89. He went to the Pittsburgh Penguins. He won 2 Stanley Cups. But anyway, in the 80s, from like 84 to 88 or whatever, he was the goaltender for the Buffalo Sabres. And I remember I had a picture of him that I cut out from a magazine, and it was on my headboard because I'm a big hockey fan, big Sabres fan, but I had no idea what he looked like. I had no idea what his face looked like. And there was this mystery, because, he had, the mask on. There was this mystery. There was this mystique around Tom Barrasso. And I thought it was so cool. And then I remember somewhere, I forget when it was. It might have been the early 90s or something. Or no, I think it was when he got traded. I saw his picture on TV. He's been traded to Pittsburgh. And I remember feeling like, not that he was just a normal looking guy. But I remember as a kid, 8 or 9 years old going, I felt like the mystery was gone, and somehow he wasn't as cool, or whatever it is. And now, we don't think about this consciously, but now, we know Nick Castle's face is everywhere. You know what I mean? And it's this access to information. There was this mystique around celebrity and our horror villains and all that, I mean, we've settled into the reality of what it is now. But back when we were kids, you know, we didn't know what any of these people looked like. You know, because their faces were not there. They weren't celebrities. They were stuntmen or they were, you know, whatever the case was. And so we didn't know. And there was no internet. You couldn't just Google, you know, somebody. So you're right. Now with the ease of access, you know, anybody can be famous and we just see everything now and it demystifies everything. And so there isn't that mystique around certain characters now. So I totally agree with that. That's a bang on point. It has absolutely demystified everything. And you can just be famous for farting in a jar, you know, and selling it on eBay.
For real. I
know. Okay. The Exorcist Believer comes out this weekend. Yep. There was advanced screenings this week. This is directed by David Gordon Green. This is the first in a potentially a new trilogy. The Exorcist Believer, of course, The Exorcist celebrates 50 years this year. One of the great, not just one of the greatest horror movies of all time, but certainly one of the great movies of all time.
That defined a generation, literally. Literally.
Absolutely, 100%. It was, you know, again, I can understand now people seeing it for the first time. Obviously it's a bit dated, but I still think it holds up. I still think it's a terrific story. And so now of course there was The Heretic, didn't do very well. There was Legion, which was fantastic. Then you had The Exorcist, the beginning, and then Dominion, which is essentially the same movie, but two different versions.
Yeah. Right.
And we haven't had anything since in the world of The Exorcist, but we've had, I don't know how many possession, demon, supernatural movies since. So we've been desensitized to this. Yep. And I think that in embarking on this journey, you're already behind the eight ball. When you slap the name The Exorcist on it, you know, there's a lot of weight on that. There's meaning to that. This is one of the greatest horror movies of all time. And you know, I mean, you know, and so I watched the teaser and I thought, okay, it was all right. You watched it. You thought it looked all right. I watched the trailer for it like a couple of weeks ago. And I actually, funny enough, I liked the trailer better than the teaser. Yeah. And I thought, okay, all right. Well, the reviews are out. And so far, the movie's getting panned, as we figured it probably would.
I think it's getting trashed.
It's getting trashed. It's currently got 24% on Rotten Tomatoes. I love this thing though. I have to state this before we, you know, move on.
But do critics ever, even like YouTube critics now, does anybody do positive reviews these days? It seems like no matter what movie comes out, people are just trashing it.
Well,
like that. That's the thing to do.
Yeah, you know? we'll get into that. But I do love how it's just this confirmation. But I love how Rotten Tomatoes is dog shit, means fucking nothing when it doesn't align with what you think it should. But all of a sudden, the critics are geniuses when it does align with what, like, you know, it either matters or it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? So you get it. But anyway, that aside, it's getting panned. Okay. I haven't read any of the reviews at length. I've read sort of, you know, the blurbs, and it's being called soulless and not particularly scary. And, you know, there's a bunch of stuff, but there's a few people that liked it, you know, of course. And so here's the thing. So we obviously haven't seen it yet. So this is, you know, we are talking about this from a perspective of having not seen the movie yet. But I think we'll talk about this from at least a perspective that is informed based on a number.
I already know where I'm going with it.
Based on a number of things. So let me start and say that one of the things that and again, we could watch it. Tony and I could watch it and be like, holy fuck, that was the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. It's entirely possible, right? You never know.
Yep.
The problem with this is when looking at the reviews for The Exorcist Believer, And if you are somebody that's trying to figure out whether it's a movie you should go see, first of all, you should go see every movie that you want to go see and not care fuck all what anybody says. Nobody should ever tell you, don't go see this movie. Of course, a lot of people say that, but you got to go make up your own mind. Never be afraid to like something people don't, and never be afraid to dislike something people love. As you know, I'm an unabashed Avatar fan. I love Avatar and couldn't give a frog's fat ass that apparently it's the, you know, hip thing to hate on. I don't fucking care. I love the movie. I think it's great. And I couldn't care less whether that bothers you or not. I could not care less. No, I don't mean you, Tony. I mean, you know, people out there. Right. So it's the thing where, so with The Exorcist Believer, there's more weight that surrounds this. So you're going to have people that are going to, I think there's more weight that surrounds this movie than the average movie that comes out, even the average horror film, because of what it means, because it is a direct sequel to one of the greatest horror films of all time, one of the greatest movies of all time. The Exorcist is a movie that crosses the threshold, gets out from underneath its own shadow within its own genre, and is in the pop culture. And so it's very, very different. And there's a lot of weight. There's a lot of cinephiles. There's a lot of people that it means a lot. Way more than Halloween. And that meant a lot. But this is a real big sort of thing. And so, you know, when I read the reviews and I see the rating, I'm like, okay, well, we kind of expected this. And I didn't necessarily, but there's a couple things, right? And again, we're coming at this from not seeing the movie, but this is the kind of situation, and it's almost unavoidable, that you're going to get people that are going into the movie with their arms crossed, their brows furrowed, and they want it to fail because they are just, they may not realize this subconsciously. You know, I mean, they do, but like, you know, at any sort of great length, but they just don't like the fact that they have made this movie, and you see it. Mm-hmm. And I've often said, how can you give a movie a fair shake when before the movie comes out, you are pissed off they're making it, you hope it fucking fails, you're online expressing how much you hope it fucking fails, and now your job is to go and review it. I mean, very rarely do I ever see anybody go, wow, like anybody that's hoping a movie fails, come back and say, you know what, that was fantastic. So you have that side, right? You've got to weed through that. You got those people. Right? And they exist. So, and there's no doubt that some of those reviews are from those people. Did they really give it? Did they really hate it as much as, is it really as bad as they are saying it is? Or is it a certain bias around it where they're just fucking livid this goddamn movie was ever made? I thought the 2016 Ghostbusters, I thought it was all right. I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was terrible. I thought it was, I mean, it's not as good as the original, but
people trash that. I actually like that movie.
Yeah. I thought it was all right. Like I thought it was like, it wasn't great, but I thought it was all right. So, you know, that stuff exists. That stuff exists. And you really see that in the Star Wars, Marvel, you know, Disney, woke Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, that's where you see all that, right? Like,
yeah.
How can you hate on Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? Fucking God, that's fucking woke bullshit. And then go to the movie theater and going, but I'm going to see how this really, get the fuck out of here. Like, there's no point. Of course not, right? Because you also have your followers that are depending on you to hate it as well. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. So we have that with The Exorcist, like it does exist. I'm not saying that the mark is not, or the rating on Rotten Tomatoes is not legit and it's not appropriate. I haven't seen the movie yet. I'm just saying that we do have that. That does exist. And then you have the other side, which is one of the complaints that I hear is that it's not scary, that it takes like an hour, like it's just this whole hour, and there's like nothing happens. It takes like an hour to get in. Nothing is just boring for this whole fucking hour. And okay, maybe they're right. Maybe we'll go see it, and we'll be looking at our watch going, holy fuck, God, this is one of the, maybe, because we haven't seen it yet, but is this a case where this is an individual that just doesn't like this style of filmmaking, a slow burn, pensive, building characters, sitting with them, building the mystery, taking its time. And listen, not all slow burn movies pull off the slow burn well. It comes down to editing and pacing and story and character and keeping it interesting. And you can have a slow burn movie that you're looking at your watch, and you can have a slow burn film where you doesn't even feel like the time has passed. And so I get that. So I'm not here to say that it is either or. I'm just saying there are people out there that the type of storytelling that The Exorcist, the original, the type of storytelling, it's not cut from the same cloth of storytelling as like a Michael or a Jason or a Friday. We had that issue with It's Me, Billy. There's lots of people that watch It's Me, Billy and thought, you need more blood, you need more kills. Like, no, we don't. It's not that kind of, have you seen the original film? It's not that kind of film. It's Me, Billy's more that psychological, moody theater of the mind. And so we're taking our time with it, building. So I hear people say that and I go, okay, maybe they're right. Or is it just them not liking this? Have you seen the original Exorcist? It starts off in Iraq for 15, 20 minutes. I mean, because they're building and they're building it up or whatever. So there's that to deal with as well, right? And then there's the other people that are giving it a fair shake and do not like the film because there are issues with the structure. There are issues with the pacing, and that it just is it's just not a good movie. It's a Halloween Kills or it's a, whatever the case is in terms of the structure and the dialogue and what's going, you have that. And then you have, this is the fourth now I think I'm up to. I'm going to let you talk here in a second, Tony. And then you have the fourth one where you have people that go and watch it and it's fine. It actually is fine. It just cannot get out from under the weight of its brand. And it's fine. It's perfectly fine. It's not, like I've often said, I said The Exorcist believer doesn't have to be, although there are some people that would fight me on this because it's The Exorcist, but thinking about it realistically, it doesn't have to be fantastic, genius, great, oh my God. It just has to be good. It has to be good. It just has to be good because of the weight that it's under, because of the expectations. It's just got to be good. It's just got to be good. And then you set the foundation for maybe what, to come. So I'm keeping an open mind. Maybe I'll go in and agree with this 24%, or maybe I'll go in and be like, this is not as bad. This is a situation where it had no hope in hell of a fair shake because of the four things that I said here. Tony.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that. I'm hoping that I go in there with because I did like the teaser and I did like the trailer. It got me excited for it. But look, I'm not gonna fucking kid you. With the person behind this project, I am very skeptical because of what I just saw him do to the Halloween trilogy.
Right.
Look, let's be real. When it comes to his resume, this dude basically won the lottery. I didn't realize until today he directed Pineapple Express, because I was trying to look up like previous shit he's done. And I'm like, really? He directed Pineapple Express? No shit. Now, Pineapple Express, when I look at that film, that's got Danny McBride and Seth Rogen's thumbprints all over that film. So when he's directing it, I'm sure basically he's just there as a glorified director, and it's really McBride and Seth Rogen, like it's their vision of what they want to do to make that movie, because that was a pretty fun movie. It was a fun, if you liked it, it was fun. He did the other movie with Nick Cage, Joe, that was a solid movie. Okay. But look, as an overall, I'm pulling for it. I'm hoping for it to do well, but like, let's just go with what's coming out. And if it's legit, okay, this dude can't make fucking movies. And he basically, this is a case of, he knew someone who got connected to him and got him to Jason Blum, and he won the lottery. Because I look at movies, let's just talk about the Halloween franchise for a quick second here. Yeah. But no, here's how you look at the franchise. How do the movies in that franchise age? Okay. When you sit down and talk to most Halloween fans, the top four that they're going to list off that they're favorites: 1, 2, 4, and 18. That is it. And I don't even know how 18 is going to age. If 18 would still be even mentioned in the conversation 5 years from now. When's 2028? 5 years from now, when it hits 10 years. Okay. I don't know. Because I just don't, I look at those three films and I just don't think they're going to age very well in the long run. Certainly Kills isn't going to age very well. Ends, forget about it. Ends is just going to be like a memory we all will try to forget. I'm not saying that there wasn't people who enjoyed what he did there in the attempt. But you know what's funny? When you look at the Halloween franchise as a whole, okay, 5 hasn't aged well, 6 hasn't aged well. I know that I'm not saying that they're not fans of those particular movies, but as a whole,
yeah, no, you're speaking generally.
Generally, right?
Yeah.
H2O not aging well, Resurrection not aging well. One can make an argument for Zombies 2 movies that his first one was decent, second one is fucking dog shit. The only fucking Halloween movie in the entire franchise that actually has aged well is Halloween 3. From where it started, where no one liked it, to where it is now, people are fans of it. People talk positive about that movie. It's a fan favorite. They like the idea of what Carpenter was doing in introducing an anthology film. It's amazing how of all of the movies in this franchise, the one that's actually aged the best is the one that has nothing to do with Michael. And for David Gordon Green, as a business, I'm thinking now as like a business person, okay? This is either you got to slam dunk this and you got to win the game here, or you now could become a risk. You know, that's what I'm saying, because like if again we're playing the if card because you and I haven't seen the movie, so I'm basing it on what I've read and what I've seen. If this all is true, this dude is not a fucking filmmaker. He won the lottery and he attached his names to 2 IPs. You can't, someone can argue, say, well, Halloween 2018 made this amount of money, or Halloween Kills made this amount of money, or Ends made this amount of money, or The Exorcist is on, track to make, I guess break some record this weekend or whatever. Has nothing to do with him as a filmmaker. Has to do with the IP. That's it. The only reason why people went to go see the Halloween movies is because Michael, not David Gordon Green, Michael Myers. Same thing with The Exorcist. They're linking this Exorcist movie to the original. They're bringing back the mother. So you have that connection there, and it's a horror movie. It's October. It's a familiar IP. I don't know how this dude became a filmmaker, but if what is to be true, and if this is legit on the reviews, I don't know how this fucking dude got a job as a director, because he there's nothing that I can sit there and be like, yeah, David Gordon Green is, one of the top, modern horror directors of our time, because he's not. No,
I wouldn't say that. I think he's, I think he's not a filmmaker. I think he's just maybe potentially not right for, not every filmmaker is right for every project, right?
Correct.
And so he can be great.
Because if he did something that didn't have like a familiar IP, I don't know if people would go see it.
Who knows? No, you're right. I don't know. I have no idea, but sorry, I'll let you continue. Sorry about that.
No. So I'm just saying, like, you have to go to really great. It's like thinking of like Halloween for a moment here. You've got to go to real great lengths to fuck it up. It's already an established IP. It's not that fucking hard, man. Like, I get people want to put their own stamp on it and whatnot, but if you haven't learned from the past history of the franchise, when putting your own stamp on it never turns out well. And we saw that with Halloween 5, and Halloween 6. Halloween 4 is the return to form like 2018 was. And what happened in both of those, movies with the sequels after, it basically what happens to 4 is it gets shit on because of 5 and 6, like 18 gets shit on because of Kills and Ends. There's no like strong finish. And, like you were saying with Ends, a year or so ago, like all he has to do is land the plane, and damn, man, he went down like Buddy Holly, That's a bad analogy, but
no. Peggy Sue, Peggy Sue, pretty Peggy Sue.
And I'm just like thinking, like, Peggy. How, like, I'm sitting there like, you know, if I'm Blumhouse and I'm a business, right? And I'm a business guy, right? And I want to make, now look, yeah, obviously he's going to make his money back, maybe an opening weekend, whatever the budget was and whatnot. And I get it from Blum's perspective that that's what he's seeing. But like, I'm also looking at it long term too. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because he's going to become a risk. You know, people are going to be like, I gave him a chance with Halloween. I gave him a chance with Kills. I gave him a chance with Ends. I gave him a chance with Believer. And this dude just doesn't know what he's doing when it comes to making movies or horror movies. Okay. Well, and the fucked up part about it is, bro, these are established IPs. Like, how you can't fuck it up that much. And if what is true of The Exorcist, that's just a pisser.
Well, and that goes back to what I was saying. And again, we haven't seen the movie, right? And our tune may change or stay the same after we see it. But it goes back to our point with this is The Exorcist. So there's a lot of weight. And I went through the 4 things that are there. And, you know, I don't know. It doesn't mean that there isn't or there couldn't have been another director out there that maybe would be better suited for The Exorcist. Maybe, you know, who knows? But it wouldn't have mattered who took the reins. The weight and the expectation of its name would still be there. And so we don't know yet. I mean, you know, I've read the, you know, the blurbs and I hear that it's soulless, it's this, it's that, but it's hard to figure out, you know, who is, how much of that is expectation, how much of that, because there are people that really enjoyed it. Cecil Laird, director Cecil Laird of Dylan's New Nightmare. He did a review on it. He posted, he said he actually really liked it. He said there was a few things really emotional.
Because you know, when we talked about the trailer and even before the trailer, I was pulling for David Gordon Green. I was hoping that maybe this was more in his wheelhouse than the Halloween movie. Well, I hope that we don't go in there and I'm texting you after like, bro.
And that's it. And Aaron Click in the chat room had said something a few moments ago. He says, but I'm paraphrasing what you said, Aaron, but you said, you know, essentially, but shouldn't the goal be to strive for the same greatness as the original?
No,
because then why bother? And it's like, well, who's to say they didn't strive? Right? So just because you don't reach it doesn't mean you didn't necessarily strive. But I think to Tony's point, the goal is not to you know, do the same thing over again. The goal is not to strive for that same greatness. The goal is to tell, you know, to write a compelling story with great characters that has the DNA of that original movie and understand the subgenre that it is, that psychological, slow burn, that kind of stuff. We also have to remember too, you know, the style of movies today are different. And how movies are made are different. And, you know, William Friedkin, rest in peace, you know, he comes from a documentary style background. So the original Exorcist has a documentary kind of feel to it. It's a narrative piece. It's not a documentary, obviously, but the pacing of it, taking your time, the battle between, you know, you get, you know, the conversation between, you know, Chris McNeil and the doctors. It's a slow burn too. Not a lot's going on in that movie for that first hour either, right? But it could come down to, you know, the pacing, the editing, little things. It's you know, it's keeping your interest. It's interesting. But according to Cecil, who also saw the movie, he said, well, no, that first hour is like that, but I wasn't bored. I actually was really into it. I thought it was interesting. It kind of had like a Prisoners vibe to it. You know what I mean? That, for, you know, the girls go missing and what's going on, all that kind of stuff. Now, he's not saying it is exactly like Prisoners. He's just saying that it had that kind of vibe to it. So here you have Cecil, who's pretty, you know, astute in filmmaking and you know, the storytelling, you know, process, who said, no, he says it wasn't incredible, but I said, I enjoyed it. I liked it. It got me, you know, a few times, a few things I didn't like or whatever, but he didn't think it was the train wreck that, you know, some people are saying. So that's why, you know, I wonder, and again, it could be, maybe it is a train wreck, but that's
my question to you. My question to you is, if it is true, if it's dog shit and you're texting me afterwards, like, dude, this sucked, you know, like, it's just bad. How does this how does this affect David Gordon Green as a director for horror movies? Do you as a studio trust him going forward? Because there's only so many times where fans might, give him the benefit of the doubt. And, remember, because we have to spend our money to go see a movie. And clearly, as his trilogy in Halloween progressed, I didn't go see it. I mean, I saw the first one in theater, but I didn't see the last two. I fucking peacocked that shit. I wasn't going to spend my money. I mean, yeah, I'm paying $1.99 for the Peacock service to watch it, but you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to drop, what would be for a date night out close to $100 for a movie that because of a director that has not proven himself to make really good movies. So going forward, if true, how does this affect him as a director?
I don't think it affects him that much, to be honest with you. I think he's got, the 3 Halloween movies all made over $100 million at the box office. They were all hugely financially successful. Obviously, it was diminishing returns. Each one made less than the other. But they made over $100 million worldwide. The Exorcist, I don't know how well The Exorcist is going to do, but that's what the studios pay attention to. They always hope that the reviews are good. Right now, they're definitely a lot lower than what they would like them to be. I would say that, the studios probably hope for a 50%. If it's going to be on the negative side, they hope for maybe a kind of a split. 20 is kind of low, but it's not done yet. The movie still has to come out. So maybe that could get into the 40s by the time it's done, because I think not even 100 reviews are out yet. And that's a film that'll probably get a few hundred before it's done. And then they'll also look at the audience reviews as well, right? They'll look at the critics' reviews.
I guess the way I should have worded my question.
Well, I'm getting to it. I'm getting to it. I think they will look at the critics' reviews, but they'll also pay attention to the audience score, and maybe that'll be in the 60s or the 70s. I think David Gordon Green, look, if the film bombs, let's say it bombs and it only makes, $40 million worldwide. Maybe because he's already planted the seed, that he may not, that it's not a foregone conclusion. I read this somewhere just recently. I don't believe it's a foregone conclusion that David Gordon Green will be directing the next installment, which is The Exorcist Deceiver. I think he's waiting. To see how this goes and what the box office results will be. So it's entirely possible that he will hand the reins off to somebody else, and he will likely stay on as a producer. But listen, as far as the studios are concerned, if this thing does bomb, he's 3 wins, 1 loss in the world of horror. So, will he get another shot in horror? Absolutely, he will. Will it be?
But do you think the fans will respond? But do you think the fans would respond to it and say, "Yeah, we'll go see a David Gordon Green movie," or will fans say, "You know what? You got us with," you know what I mean? It's like we just don't trust you anymore. We don't trust that you can make a good movie for us to go spend our money to go watch it.
In the horror community, maybe you'd get that, but the average moviegoer probably doesn't even know the name David Gordon Green, and so they're just going to pay attention to whatever the movie is. And maybe David Gordon Green, after he's done the 3 Halloween films, he did the first Exorcist thing here. Maybe he will now go, you know what? I don't want to leave horror. Maybe I'll go off and do something else, or maybe I'll stay in horror and do something original. Maybe I'll do an original thing. Like there's a script floating around out there that I really am passionate about, and that I'll do that. And then there's no expectations attached to it. Horror fans are not going to be angry. They're not going to be upset. I mean, you're always going to get horror fans going, "Oh, David Gordon Green's doing that." You're always going to, but if there's no emotional nostalgic attachment to the IP, then it is what it is. It's, and if it's really good, if he delivers something that's actually really good, then people will be like, "Oh, okay, that was really good. Oh, David Gordon Green directed that. Oh, okay, whatever." So I don't think it's going to affect him at all. It may affect him directing the next Exorcist, but he might bow out on his own. He might just be like, "You know what? I just kind of, I've done 4 horror movies right in a row now." And maybe in the beginning he had thought that he was going to to do all 3 Exorcist movies. And then once he completed The Exorcist Believer, that changes. That can change. I mean, that changes all the time. I don't know what his contract was. I don't know if he was signed to 3 movies or like, again, as I've been saying on this channel, there's many different ways to structure a deal. So it could be that he signed on to do 3, but there's also, he has an out in his contract as well. And that out is dependent on, it could be dependent on a number of things. It could be dependent on box office. It could be dependent on just whether he decides, you know, and then in his contract, you know, it says, you know, whatever. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying that there's many different ways to structure it. So, and maybe the deal is that you can not direct the second one, but you must remain on as a producer, which is usually what you see. Usually you see, you know, the directors will leave the directing chair, but they'll stay on as a producer, you know, and whatever to kind of, you know, spearhead it in the direction. Because according to David Gordon Green, he has it laid out. He's got a blueprint of this trilogy. Now, it can go in a few different ways, but according to him, and my understanding is that, you know, he has it laid out. And so if he doesn't go on to write or direct the next one, he will, you know, pass those notes on to whoever does. You know, so there's a canonical sort of, you know, continuity there in the connective tissue. But I think he's going to be fine. I do. I think, I don't know what he'll do after, but I don't know. I mean, like if David Gordon Green was hired to do A Nightmare on Elm Street, then yeah, you might see a little bit of the, you know.
I think you would see a huge backlash from the fans saying, you fucked up Mikey, you fucked up The Exorcist. No, thank you.
But, you know, like I said, if The Exorcist, I don't know what the budget was for The Exorcist. Let's say it was $30 million. If The Exorcist Believer, it's Halloween time, it's horror movies. I know. You know, if this thing makes, you know, over 100 mil at the box office, 120, 110 or whatever, it's another win. It's another win for him. Yep. You know, so
that's what I'm saying. This man won the lottery.
Yeah. I mean,
no talent.
You know, I mean, the one thing I will say is this, and although Halloween is different than The Exorcist, one of the things that I read is that, and again, I don't know, I haven't seen it, but one of the things is that I heard, and I heard it from a few people that have seen the movie, is that it is, it's not particularly scary. It doesn't have that, and I love this word, dread. And now maybe it does, and I will watch and go, what the fuck are these people talking about? I think it has dread, right? But who knows? But this is what I'm reading. You know, so if that is the case, that is something that the original Exorcist does have. There is this insidious dread, this even when nothing particularly eerie or creepy is happening on screen, you just feel the weight of the story. You feel the weight of the stakes. You feel the weight of the performances and how it feels so real and it's creepy and it's eerie and all that kind of stuff. And you do need that's part of the DNA. And so the reason I honed in on that and I was like, okay, is because Halloween 18 I thought was void of that. You know what I mean? And it's not that Halloween, I still think 18 is the best in the trilogy. And but Halloween 18, it kind of felt like it was missing a little bit of that dread, suspense, you know? And so I wonder now if that's been carried over, that we'll walk out of it going, it was fine. No, it's not the dog shit that these people, it's the worst thing of all time. You know, you hear that all the time. No, it's definitely not that, but it's okay. It's fine, but it's kind of like a Halloween 18 kind of feel. You know what I mean? Where you kind of watch and you go, okay. Yeah, you know what I mean? And so that kind of has me a little worried because that is something that feels sort of like it was maybe a David Gordon Green thing. I don't know. I've never met the man. I've no idea. I'm not here to, you know, knock him as a filmmaker at all. I've seen Joe. I thought Joe was really good, you know, and so I've also seen that. What was that one he did with Sandra Bullock? I thought that was all right too. So I don't think he's a bad filmmaker at all. I just think that maybe, you know, for some people, his style, maybe, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie yet.
You know, I know people are commenting about Pineapple Express. Well, first of all, that was written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. And like I said earlier, you can tell that Pineapple Express has Seth Rogen and Danny McBride's thumbprint all over that film.
Right.
David Gordon Green, all he basically had to do was show up and say action. Okay. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's be real about that for a moment. That is,
I haven't seen
Seth
the movie.
Rogen's that's basically Seth Rogen's baby.
Yeah.
Okay. David Gordon Green did not have to do the hard part, you know, like, yeah. So, you know, I know people like to go to that one, but like, let's be real. You know, he didn't do the blueprint for Pineapple Express.
Right.
You know what I mean? He just showed up and did a job and said action, cut, and that was it. You know, I mean, for real. I mean, let's be real with that. I mean, that's a Seth Rogen and Danny McBride thing, and Evan Goldberg. That was those three. You can.
I haven't seen the movie, so I'm not sure, but I'll take your word for it.
You know.
Yeah.
If you watch it, I mean, if you know a Seth Rogen style type movie, you pretty much, once you watch, you're like, yeah, fucking Seth Rogen. It's got his fucking thumbprint all over that shit. So anybody, you and I could have fucking directed that movie with no fucking experience, all right, and not fuck it up. You know what I mean? Because, you know, but when you're talking, like you said, with The Exorcist, right? He's done the blueprint. He's laid it all out. Halloween, the trilogy, that was pretty much his baby as well too. I'm not fucking impressed. I'm just being honest. Like,
well, we'll find out.
We'll find out when we see it here in the next week. Well, for me, in the next week, I'm not going to see it this weekend.
Yeah. Before we go over to the Q&A, so right now, The Exorcist on Rotten Tomatoes, 23%. 83 reviews are in. Here are some of what I'm just going to read the blurbs, but here are what some people are saying. Katie Walsh of Tribune News Service says this, and again, this isn't a review of the movie. This is just the little blurbs to get you to click on the review, sort of a condensed sort of consensus. This noisy effort isn't even worth your attention. Well, Katie, I will be the judge of that. Thank you very much. Tim Robbie of Daily Telegraph says, and this is not a good review either, says it's truly embarrassing how little imagination is flexed all around. Limp stabs at awe-inspiring set pieces, such as the white girl having a fit in church, are just thrown over the composers to beef up. Okay, why
do we got to throw her race in there though?
Well, I think because the other girl is black, so maybe he's making the distinction.
Oh, I thought we were just like.
I don't think so. No, yeah.
I was like, okay, can we just say the girl?
Yeah. Nick Shager of the Daily Beast says the Exorcist believer trots out Burstyn for continuity credibility and then treats her with stunning disrespect. The most brazen of many indications that the film is a soulless cash-in on an established name brand. Again, I've seen the word soulless a lot. I don't know if people are reading each other's reviews and stealing each other's words, but nonetheless. Here's one from Michael O'Sullivan from the Washington Post says, if the Exorcist believer is all about devotion to spiritual or at least cinematic faith, it's failure to live up to the power of the first film. You see that there? It's failure to live up to the power. Look at the word he chose. The power of the first film. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier, where it's like, I mean, the expectations is so high that I don't know if any director could have been getting out from underneath that shadow.
That review is very true because, you know, you've often pointed out that there's more than just one thing going on in the original Exorcist. It's not just Reagan being possessed. It's Demi, you know, Damien. Demi. I'm just thinking of the way the mom says his name.
Demi, no, why, Demi? Why?
But it's him. It's him as a priest. Yeah. Struggling with the fact that he's lost his faith.
That's right. And then the original Exorcist is a horror drama. It's a drama. Right. It's a character-driven film. Now, everything I've heard about what David Gordon Green has been saying, that's how he's tackled this. And that's why for some people that first hour they find I'm not, but you know, it's not like it's you know about the mystery. It's a character-driven. It sounds like this movie is also, so you know, at least it sounds like it's more character driven, which I like.
Right.
But we'll see. Anyway, he finishes here by saying the power of the first film, which made which made zealots of even the most cynical moviegoers borders on sacrilege. Okay, right? You know, so you're seeing a lot of this. I see a lot of this kind of like, it's just, what the hell? It's not even, you know what I mean? Here's one here. Brian Eggert from Deep Focus Review says, Friedkin's film convinced audiences that the devil existed, so God must too, right? Green doesn't convince us of anything, aside from Hollywood's rare ability to strip mine franchises until they're creatively barren. Now, again, we don't know. Is this a guy from the very beginning that when it was announced that they were going to do one, he's sitting there going, well, fuck that shit. I guess I got to go review it. And he's sitting there this. I don't know.
I will say this. If that review is true, unfortunately for David Gordon Green, what he would have going against him is 2023 culture versus the 1970s culture. The 1970s culture in America, Christianity was still very prevalent.
Huge.
It was huge across the whole country. Catholicism and whatnot. You didn't have all the fucking stories coming out about the Catholic Church that, you know, obviously would eventually come to light over the next couple decades, and where people, you know, started to, you know, change their tune about it. So you don't have that same type of vibe, you know, with Christianity now, especially in Hollywood. Hollywood will almost do anything to freaking steer clear of anything to do with God, Christ, Christianity, or any of that stuff. Whereas in the 70s, not so. I mean, people just, it was just a different time. People, you know, were still going to church on Sunday. I'm not saying people don't go to church on Sunday.
No, I know what you're saying.
Someone's gonna be like, Tony, you act like people don't go to church anymore. No, that's not what I'm saying. But it's just different. It's you know, like people would get dressed up in their Sunday best and go to church on Sunday. There was more of a trust in your local priest and things like that. So the original Exorcist was hitting on all those cylinders when it came out. Today, not so much, which is why I'm not surprised that they tackled different religions in this movie. You know, not just focused on Christianity, but there's, from my understanding, they get into voodoo, right?
I'm not sure. I do know that they it's almost like they reach out to other faiths in order to help. To help.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is interesting.
So you're not just, it is, and it's a different perspective. You're not just relying on the Catholic priest to come in and save the day. So that's, you know, again, so that's where, like, with this guy saying, unfortunately, you know, if it was, because I will say this, and I think everyone would agree with this, if it was done in the style of the 70s movie, meaning was very driven by like the Catholic Church, you know, and the priests and things like that, you would still offend a lot of people. People would be offended by that in itself, you know, anything related to Christianity and all that stuff. And you would have people, you know, bitching about that, you know, so there's like almost a no-win scenario for David Gordon Green when it comes to that.
Well, that's my point. And, you know, you could walk out of the movie and, you know, again, that's why I've said the movie doesn't, I know there are people that says, no, look, it's a sequel to The Exorcist, therefore it has to be as great as The Exorcist. It's like, no, it can't be. That doesn't mean it can't be a good movie, but if that's the litmus test, if that's where the expectations are, well, of course you're going to go in, you know, knocking on it. It could be a really good movie and it wouldn't be good enough, right? It can't, that can't be the litmus test. Movies aren't made the same way anymore. There's a very specific style to Friedkin's directing and his directing sensibilities and the way that story was told. So David Gordon Green is now bringing his sensibilities to it. The DNA has to be there. And we have to feel like it's canonically connected, like what we did with Black Christmas. You know, there are people that say, God, you know, it's me, Billy. It feels like Black Christmas. It's not the 06 movie. It's not the 19 movie. I mean, yes, it's a modern movie, and Bruce and I have brought our directing and storytelling sensibilities to it. But there's so many people that have reached out to us and go, this is Black Christmas. You know what I'm saying? And sure. So, and not everybody liked it, and that's just art, but I'm just saying I'm not saying that's what David Gordon Green has done here either. I'm just saying that's what one must do. They still need to bring themselves to the piece, but understanding the DNA of it. So that's why I say, look, the movie could be a train wreck. All these people could be right, but it's possible that this movie was never going to get a fair shake anyway because of the weight that, like, the movie could be fine. And if it wasn't called The Exorcist Believer and it was just called, you know, The Missing or, you know, whatever it was, you could walk away going, you know what, that was a really good exorcism movie. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? So is it the weight of the brand that is, it's too much. We don't know. We don't know yet. We don't know. We haven't seen it yet. Here are some positives. So we got positive here from Jim Shembry, Jim Shembry, I guess, of jimshembry.com says, now keep in mind that when there's a positive tomato, that doesn't mean that they think the movie's a 10 out of 10. Okay. It just means that they gave the movie a positive review. So that's how it's, it's judged. You could give a tomato to a movie you thought was a 6 out of 10. I mean, just keep that in mind. Anyway,
there you go.
Yeah. So it's just, he enjoyed the movie. He gave it a positive review. That's all that means. So he says, there are just enough jolts to hold your attention. There's a bit too much sermonizing, excuse me, and not enough satanic vomit. Though, obviously he's being a little, cheeky. I get it. Though there's a decent amount of gross out moments. It's like, okay, well that's now again, that doesn't mean the movie, that shouldn't be the litmus test for the good movie for The Exorcist. He's just saying that again, we're reading a blurb. The full review we have to click on, but he gave it a positive review. Let me see if I can find something a little more.
I did read somebody say that the movie did heavily use as a crutch the sound design jump scare, which I was hoping they wouldn't do, because when you watch the original Exorcist movie, yes, there are sound design jump scares, but it's used very sparingly. There's a lot of scenes that are creepy that it's just the atmosphere that they use. They didn't use, you know what I mean? Like, for example, when you see the face reflecting off of the was it the oven?
Yeah, that's right.
Pazuzu's face
kind of flashes.
There's no sound.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's, again, that adds to the creepiness of what made The Exorcist so good. And I don't understand modern day filmmakers, like, why do you feel the need to fucking crank up the volume, max it out to get people fucking, it's a cheap way to scare people. People remember stuff when it's very subtle, and you're just, with like, for example, I'll use Blair Witch as an example versus the Blair Witch Project, the Blair Witch, the sequel. Blair Witch sequel in 2016, when fucking sound design, jump scares, fucking on steroids. Like, but when you watch the original Blair Witch, what made part of that movie really creepy is the fact that it was a very subtle sound design. It was snapping of the branches outside their tent and things like that. Like, you know what I mean? That's what made the Blair Witch Project a creepy film in 1999. Whereas the remake or the sequel in 2016, fucking A, man, I was getting so aggravated by the fucking bam. I'm like, what the fuck? Enough with the fucking jump scared sounds, And from my understanding, this Exorcist movie relies on and uses it as a crutch, which I'm like,
I don't know. I've heard there are some jump scares. I've heard there's a really good one. You know what? It's time and time again. The horror community has to remember that it's ironic. Yes, these movies are made for us, but they're not just made for us. Right. And there are statistics and they've done studies on this. The reason why you see a lot in trailers is not for the horror fans. It's for the people that wouldn't normally go. And so it's to yes, if horror fans were cutting horror trailers and we were in charge, then you'd probably get a lot of trailers that didn't show a lot. But unfortunately, that's not how you get asses into the seats. And Halloween 18 didn't make $260 million the worldwide box office because that's all horror fans. That's horror fans bringing their girlfriends. That's horror fans bringing their, maybe their kids. That's a group of people that are not horror fans. They're just movie fans, and it's Halloween time. Like, hey guys, you want to go see a scary movie tonight? Yeah, let's go see a scary. I hear there's like that Halloween movie, but it's a lot of those. It's mostly those people. And then there's a big contingency of horror fans as well. But also keep in mind, not all horror fans are Halloween fans. So, you can whittle that down too. There's lots of horror fans that don't give a fuck about Michael Myers, but go see Michael Myers because it's a horror movie at Halloween time. And so there's been studies on this. I mean, it's marketing. Unfortunately, they show a lot. They show all because I think there was an article from Jason Blum a couple years ago where he talked about this. He says that we show a lot in trailers. Now, some studios will show more than others, but he says, yeah, you see a lot because it's been shown to get people to go. And when we don't show it, it's not exciting enough for the average moviegoer, not the person that understands filmmaking and marketing and all that kind of stuff. The average mom who's taking her kid to soccer practice, the average dad who's working a 9-to-5 job, who's not in the movie sphere, who doesn't think about movies 24/7 like we do, who's not a filmmaker, just the average dad who likes to go to the movies or whatever. That's who it's for. That's who it's for. So they watch the Halloween, trailer or the Exorcist trailer, and they see, whoa, let's go see that, honey. And that's who it's for, and that's why it's there. And so a lot of the more nuanced, creepy horror movies, that are more sort of theater of the mind in their marketing are usually, they'll wind up on streaming, or they'll have a limited run, or maybe they won't do well because people didn't know that it existed, because the marketing isn't a hype train, right? How do you hype up, it's easier to hype up, noise than it is to hype up silence. And so, yeah, well, I'm not saying anything you don't know. But
someone brought up a good point here. Let me get right here. Critical Overlord. The Conjuring, one my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time.
Great film.
He reference to the sound, jump scares. It does it, and he's right. They do use jump scares in that movie, but it's earned, and he's right. They did, James, when they made that movie, it's like he made a perfect fucking Sunday, and the sound jump scares that he did, sprinkled it on top just enough, but not overkilling it. Whereas as the two sequels relied on it too much, you know what I mean? Like the second one and the last one fucking went nuts with that shit, and I don't like that stuff. What made the first Conjuring so good and why it was such a success is that it did rely on the atmosphere. And I just watched it the other night. It still fucking holds up. Still, there's still scenes, like, for example, the scene there where the mother's laying in the bed and Bathsheba fucking floats over her and her mouth opens up. It's a very subtle, like, you hear, you know what I mean? Very subtle sound, not a whole, but he could have gone to the extreme with that, right? He could have gone so far overboard, but he didn't, or when, the hide and clap games and things like that they were doing. There's just certain parts, or when the girl's her hair's getting pulled, and she's dragging across the floor, or when the maid says, I forgot what she says to the cop, look what you made me do, or something like that. Again, all he relied on was that female actress playing the ghost. Look what you made me do. She whispered it first. And then she pops out of the laundry that's hanging there. Look what you made me do, or like screams that. And that's what they used as the scare. They didn't use the sound. They used the atmosphere of the silence and then her talking really loud. And that's why The Conjuring, to me, is still one of the best horror movies in the last decade. And it's in my top 10 favorite movies of all time, because they earn it. And I was hoping that maybe David Gordon Green would have taken that same approach. But from what I'm understanding, it sounds like he's relying on it too much as a crutch.
Yeah, I don't know. And you could be right. And, The Conjuring is, it's one of the best. And there's an argument to be made that it is, but of course that's subjective, one of the best mainstream studio released horror movies of the last 20 years. I mean, it's the original from 2013.
The first one, yeah.
And it's brilliant. It's fantastic. And I think the first Insidious is also great. It doesn't get nearly the love that the first Conjuring does.
They kind of came out like around the same time, right? Ish.
3 years apart, funny enough. That's 2 years apart, actually. The Insidious was originally released in 2010, and then it went wide in 2011, and then The Conjuring was the summer of 2013.
2013. So,
but here's the thing. Now, because I don't know if the chat room has already said this, but some people might say, well, what about James Wan for The Exorcist? Oh, they should have got James Wan to do The Exorcist. Well, here's the thing. Maybe James Wan would have been a better fit. We don't know. But
it'd be interesting to see what he would have done with it.
But he still would have been faced with the same pressure, the same weight, the same expectations, the same potentially unrealistic expectations from the viewer. So you're still going to get those four things I said. You're still going to have that. And so listen, maybe people would have liked it more. I don't know. But you're still going to have people going in, let's see what this fuck accent. You're still going to get people going, why are they making the accent? All that is, it doesn't matter who's directing it. That is still there. It's still there. And so now the interesting thing though is
you know who should have done it? John Carpenter.
Exactly. It should have been John Carpenter sitting on his ass from his home.
Pissed off.
Why
am I doing this shit?
Has to do it.
I just want to play my video games.
But here's something that's interesting. So Blumhouse, Jason Blum's production company, Blumhouse, and James Wan's production company, Atomic Monster, I believe is James Wan. I think it is. They are working out a deal. To work together to merge. I don't mean merge where they're now going to be called like Blum Monster. I don't mean that. I just mean that they are going to, Well,
didn't Wan say he didn't want to do horror movies anymore either? He didn't mind producing them, but he doesn't want to direct them anymore.
I don't think that's true. I think Wan's going to. I don't think that's the only thing he's going to do. Yeah. But I know
he did 2 Aquamans, right?
He did. He did Malignant, which I actually quite liked, although I realize it's an acquired taste. But because Atomic Monster and Blumhouse are going to be merging essentially into a business deal, which who knows how long that's going to be, you may see a lot more from James Wan in regards to Blumhouse released films, maybe even directing. I don't know. But it wouldn't have mattered. Listen, maybe because James Wan has a better track record with horror fans in terms of horror movies that people like, but he also did, Malignant, which was divisive. Insidious 2 was not as good as Insidious 1. The Conjuring 2, although really good, the general.
Hey, speaking of Insidious, now that I'm actually getting a chance to talk to you, I'm hearing actually more positive things about this one. Then I know it came out. It didn't hit the one that our boy here from The Conjuring directed. What's his name?
Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, I'm hearing that there's now actually more positive things about this new one.
Well, I'll get to that in a second. So I know there are people that do really like The Conjuring 2, but the general consensus is that obviously The Conjuring 1 is the staple. Yeah. And The Conjuring 2, which he did, obviously was, generally speaking, not as good as the original. So, I don't think it would have mattered. I mean, maybe The Exorcist Believer would have gotten better reviews out of the gate if it was James Wan, maybe. But like I said, he still would have been faced with the same pressure, the same expectations, the same weight of the brand. And I don't know if anybody could get out from underneath that shadow. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't know. Insidious Chapter 5, which is basically The Red Door, it's called. I've actually heard that it's not that great. And that
I thought I read somewhere or something. I don't know. I'm like I said, I've been so far out of the loop on everything. But I thought I saw that it made a turn for the better. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Aaron Click says maybe Mike Flanagan would have been, maybe, but maybe not. I mean,
who's Mike Flanagan?
He's a director of Dr. Sleep, of Midnight Mass.
There's only one. I only know Brian Flanagan.
No, Mike Flanagan is a horror director.
Oh, come on. You don't know who Brian Flanagan is? Is it Flanagan?
Who's Brian Flanagan?
Cocktails and Dreams, baby. Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah. No,
I think his name is Brian Flanagan. Isn't that his name? Brian Flanagan?
I'm not sure.
Chat room, help me out. I'm almost positive that's his name in the movie.
I'm not sure.
I could be like wrong on a syllable or two, but I'm almost like.
But it's interesting, there's a lot of
his first name. I can't remember.
There's a lot of, I don't like, again, I mean, there may be a better fit, but the expectations are still there. So people are still going in with those high expectations, and, we'll see how it goes. Cause we'll see it soon. So, anyway, let's jump over to the chat room for a little bit and see what you guys are saying. I know a couple of super chats did come in, so let me get those. There was only 2 of them. So that's good. Taylor Paulson sends in $2 and says, rewatched H18 and was more invested than ever before. Well, that's great. That sometimes happens when you watch a movie. Cool. And let time go by. Josh McKenna sends in $9.99 and says, are either of you into concert movies like Taylor Swift? I only like one song from Taylor Swift called Out of the Woods. I don't need to see her movie. She's everywhere, even the NFL. I'm not familiar with her music. Obviously, I know who she is, but I'm not familiar with her music.
I have gotten very familiar with her music over the last year. My girl is a Swiftie, hardcore fan. Oh yeah, she loves Taylor Swift. In fact, I actually just, it's what you do in a relationship. I bought my first Taylor Swift album here the other day. So the 1989. Look, I mean, that's what happens in relationships. You share your, and whatever and whatnot. But Chrissy she loves all kinds of music, but she is a huge Taylor Swift fan. And there's just some songs she'd be playing. I'd be like, it's not too bad. I mean, I wouldn't sit there and call myself a Taylor Swift fan.
Swiftie?
No, I wouldn't go that.
Tony Michael's
deep.
Not a Swiftie?
Tony Michael's not a Swiftie, but he supports his girl because she likes it. And I just there was a few songs on this particular album that I was like, it's actually not a bad, I could throw it on for her because I know she'll like it. And that's really more or less why I bought the album. But yeah, I'm not about to go knee deep into the Taylor Swift archives and buy every single album she does.
Yeah.
But if she wants to go to a concert, obviously I would take her to it. I mean, I don't think she wants to go see this movie. I know that wasn't The Exorcist supposed to come out on the 13th, but they moved it to not compete with Taylor Swift's movie, which
that's correct.
Whatever, is what it is. But yeah, she doesn't want to go see the movie. But if she said, hey, can we go to a Taylor Swift concert? I'd be like, yeah, sure, I'll go. I don't fucking care. It's a night out.
What about her daughter? She a Swiftie?
Yes and no. See, the thing is, Taylor came in. You got to remember, Taylor came in in 2005, 2006. She's been around for a minute. So her daughter, remember, she's only 14 years old. So not that she's out, not that she's. I mean, there are teenage young girls who are a big Taylor Swift fan. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think she's as big of a fan as her mom is. Right. You know what I mean? I know that they do listen to it together, but Chrissy's heart loves her some Swiftie. So Swiftie. All time hearing it but like I said, over time it's like, okay, that's a good song. Okay. And then with this particular album, she kept playing. I was like, that's actually a really good album. I'm going to go get it. And that's that.
I'm sure I've heard one of her songs on the radio at some point,
you have.
But I could not name a song or anything. Unfortunately, I am not a Swiftie myself.
As far as the NFL thing too, unfortunately for her and the guy that it's not their fault that they're getting the media coverage. I mean, It's the media. They're gonna freaking saturate it. I think he even came out and said something today, or the other day, it's getting ridiculous with the amount of coverage, and look, I get it. The NFL is not really known for its celebrities at their games like the NBA is or MLB, or not that celebrities don't go to, but they don't get you don't really see them. They're not like, oh, in the house tonight, is this celebrity that you see it at NBA games, you see it at baseball games and whatnot. Not so much in the NFL. Because usually celebrities are probably on the sidelines, they're getting the fucking best view in the house, and whatnot. So I think I know people were getting pissed off of the fact that on the Sunday night game here recently that, they kept zooming on to her. And the funny part is here's the funny part. This just goes to show you how much this chick's got fucking power. In her booth is Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, two people who are, they're no slubs, right? I mean, fucking Deadpool, and you got Hugh Jackman there too. But they're just focused on Taylor fucking Swift. It's like Ryan Reynolds was just an average Joe, and Hugh Jackman was just an average Joe. And that's just that's fucking power, man.
So the question then becomes: is Taylor Swift really that great, or is her brand really that great?
I mean, like I said, look, she's good enough for me to go. If I'm going to go out and drop some money on a vinyl record,
that's true.
She's good enough for me to go out and buy a vinyl record, but I'm talking fucking power, man. That's power when they don't even care that Ryan Reynolds is right next to her and Blake Lively and fucking Hugh Jackman. They're just fucking T-Swizzle.
That's funny. T-Swizzle? Is that another one?
That's what I just said. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I just said T-Swizzle.
I think they should be called T-Swizzles. So you got the Swifties and the T-Swizzles. I don't know. Yeah.
I'll be a T-Swizzle because I'm not really a big fan.
Jeff Harris sends in $4.99 and says, are you guys a fan of Nosferatu 1922? Yeah. Also, thoughts on Robert Eggers directing the remake? I think Bill Skarsgård is playing Nosferatu. I have not seen the original Nosferatu. I want to, though. And I did know they were remaking it, but I was not aware that it was Robert Eggers, and I was not aware it was Bill Skarsgård. So this is all news to me. Tony, your thoughts?
I love Nosferatu. I mean, how can you not? It's part of the early beginnings of horror movies. It really is. It's a silent film. It's not really the I forget what is credited as the first horror movie. Is it Dr. Cloglio or whatever, how you pronounce that? Cloglio?
I don't know.
I don't know. I discovered that through Rob Zombie, because Rob Zombie he loves a lot of these old. That dude, man, you want to talk about someone who fucking knows horror? That dude is an encyclopedia. This dude knows horror in different genres, and he knows it all. And we could say what we want about his movies. I love his music, but when you just want to just sit down and geek out with him and just talk about fucking horror movies, that motherfucker. I mean, there's movies I never fucking knew existed until listening to him, and then I'll Google it and be like, oh yeah, actually that looks pretty fucking cool. I'm gonna go fucking check that out. Like God, I can't fucking chat room. Somebody fucking help me out with that. Like Clogarian, whatever the fuck it is. That movie too. And I can see why he gravitates to those types of movies. But I didn't know that Skarsgård was up for the role in the remake. Did you?
No, I did not. So I'll be curious to.
That's right. Someone in the chat room singing a T-Swizzle song. Shake it off. Shake it off. Shake it off. I don't know the fucking. I know you know that.
No, I don't.
Players are gonna hate. So I can't fucking sing. You'll know it if you fucking heard it.
Not necessarily, dude.
I know.
No, dude.
If you'd
be surprised.
Shake it off. You heard it.
Okay. All right. Maybe. But you'd be surprised how checked out I am on what's hip with the kids. Taylor Paulson sends in $2 and thanks, Taylor. It says, also watch Halloween 1, 2, 3, Kills, Ends, The Gate, and Night of the Living Dead. Awesome. Sounds like you had quite the marathon, which is good. All right, let me just see any other question. I want to see if there's any other non-super chat questions. Oh, I can't hear
it. You've heard this.
I can't hear it. Why can't I hear it? I can't hear that. I wonder if it has something to do with... I literally can't hear anything.
You can't hear anything?
No. Nothing. I wonder if it has something to do with... I can't hear anything.
Nothing? But you can hear me talking?
Yeah. That's weird.
Wow, that's weird. You can't hear it?
Can the
chat room, could you guys hear that?
Could you guys hear that? Maybe Taylor... I'm not lying. I couldn't hear anything. Chat room, could you hear anything?
The cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
The cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Yeah, Caligari.
Justin Smith says, I hear nothing.
That's batshit crazy that you guys can't hear it. That is weird.
Maybe it's YouTube algorithm suddenly picking it up in real time and
saying, no, can't do that.
No, listen here, you damn T-Swizzle.
You are not T-Swizzle.
Listen here, T-Swizzle. T-Swizzle.
That is weird that you guys couldn't hear it.
No, Colin McCormick. No, couldn't hear it.
Wow.
It's so strange.
That is really fucking weird that you couldn't hear it.
It's weird.
Holy hold on. There's no way you could not hear it.
Hang on. Why don't I try? What's the name of the song?
Shake It Off, Taylor Swift.
Shake It Off, Taylor Swift.
I know you've heard this song. That's why I bought, because it's on this album. That's why I got it along with a few other songs.
Shake It Off, Taylor Swift. All right. All right, here we go. Can you hear that?
No. That's that shit crazy.
Look.
Oh, wait, I can kind of hear it.
Yes, I have heard that.
Okay, I knew you heard that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have heard that. I didn't know that was Taylor Swift.
That's T-Swizzle.
Good to know. It's T-Swizzle. T-Swizzle. See, they couldn't hear that either. Nobody could hear it. I could hear it. You could hear it. What's going on, YouTube? Oh, yeah, YouTube? You think you're great. You think you're in charge? You're not in charge. I'm the fucking man. I'm the man.
You really can't hear that. Nothing, huh?
Nothing.
That is weird.
No, it's...
You can hear my voice, but not hear the song.
Yeah, what's happening is that it's like when I think it's the volume. It's like when you scream loud. Sometimes it will like I know what it is. I know what it is. I know what's going on. It's not it's not YouTube actually. It's not a copyright thing. No, it's not, Colin. It's not. I'm saying that for, entertainment purposes, but it's not a copyright thing. It's an audio microphone
thing.
Frequency.
So now that we're in the month of October, what are you got any? I got my list of movies that I'm going to be watching. Nothing really new.
Well,
a lot of the same old. I mean, yeah, I'm going to watch The Exorcist. But nothing new. And just basically doing a lot of the same old usual horror movies that I do this
some people
time
said
of the year.
We heard Dave's loud and clear. It could be because it's Zoom and you're coming over Zoom and something's going on, whatever.
Too. That's true.
I haven't really thought about it. I'm not one of those people that does that kind of thing where I sit down and it's October and I'm so stressed and neck deep right now into pre-production of It's Me, Billy Chapter 2 that I just like, that's just taking up all our time. It's a much different.
Good. Then I don't feel guilty. Like I started off the first 2 nights. Like I was good. I watched, I always watch The Exorcist. I didn't, of course. In October.
50th anniversary this year.
Yeah, that's my go-to movie on the first, and then I watched The Conjuring, but slacked off the last 2 nights. I just, I think between doing all the remodeling in the homes that we've been doing here, and fucking work is, not that I'm complaining, work has been really busy and doing really well. Just like I'm trying to get as much in as I can this month. But I normally I would be pretty, really good about, watching one horror movie a night, for the month of October. I mean, I think as I get closer to Halloween, I'll probably start cranking out some more horror movies. But yeah, I good. So now I don't feel guilty because
it's never something I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. It's not something that I ever really think about doing, funny enough. I think it's just. And now, like I said, everything's just, there's so much going on right now and a lot of, well, I mean, we're at the mercy. Oh, I got to find out too. SAG's probably posted, they probably tweeted about how the, meetings went today with the AMPTP, because we're at the mercy of SAG and the strike, and we're waiting on an interim agreement and all that kind of stuff. And so we're hoping we can still go to camera at the end of November. We are moving ahead we are doing everything that is to be done in pre-production. And we are moving ahead like we are shooting at the end of November, but there's a real possibility we may not be able to, because we may not have our SAG interim agreement in time. And Olivia cannot work on our project without an interim agreement while the strike is on. If the strike ends, that's good, but we still need to get the SAG contract. And, so we'll see. I mean, we're getting down to the wire now. And we'll know in the next few weeks whether we have to push the shoot, unfortunately. Now, the shoot would be pushed potentially into January, which is fine in terms of a release date. We'll still, meet our release date. But I was really hoping, I hope we don't have to push, but because I know, like we did with Chapter 1, we released a teaser trailer on Christmas Eve. I know the teaser trailer in my head I would like to release this Christmas Eve. Nice. But if we don't shoot the movie, that we can't do that.
Yeah, can't do that.
So fingers are crossed. But we're at the mercy of SAG and the strike, and because we are a union shoot, it does affect us. And we've brought on Olivia, and she's SAG. Everybody on the film is union. She's the only SAG member. but everybody else is ACTRA, which is the Canadian equivalent of SAG. So it's a union shoot, and we're just waiting on this now. And so but there's so many things that are going on and so many things we're dealing with and working. We really hope that we can, we fit the absolute profile for a shoot that would qualify, but so that's kind of taking up a lot of my time right now, and so I haven't really thought about sitting down and watching.
I hear you, man. It's again, when your life shifts, and now I have someone in my life, and she likes sitting down and watching a good scary movie. But the problem is like like when I was single or whatever, by myself and whatnot, I'd always plan it out, because I had that kind of freedom to do it. I could just plan out a full month of whatever, and but it's not like I'm not keeping the spirit, so like at night, when I'm falling asleep, cause she's in New York right now. She's in the middle of a intense training course, cause she's a nurse, for those who don't know. She's taking a real intense training course up there. And, I throw on like Supernatural. I know you've never seen the show, but it's got the vibes. It's, how it's, horror-esque. It's, but just, like I thought like, man, I'm slacking it this year. Like just not like, but I just think that's just kind of naturally what happens as you start getting older and life starts pulling you in 10 different directions. It's not like it once was where you're just dedicating an entire month, to whatever. But I think as I get closer to, maybe in the last week or two of October, I'll ramp it up a little bit and get a little bit more into the spirits. Like this just goes to show well, you've seen a little bit of it. I've shared it on Facebook. The shift, right? It was all like year before or 2 years ago. It was all like horror stuff for the decor. Now it's more like farmhouse style autumn decor.
Oh, it looks great though.
Yeah, I know. We, a lot of it's her and me combined together with our ideas. But yeah, I wasn't getting away with the horror stuff. that wasn't gonna happen anymore. I knew I had to like say, okay.
Well, you can have a room. You can have a room where you have all that stuff, like your office,
right? But you know what I mean, like around the house. Like it's more. It has more of a crafty autumn, October, Halloween,
right?
And it looks good. No, I'm not complaining. You've seen it. It looks great,
fantastic.
But totally night and day different from what it once was, and that's soon to be married life, right?
That's right. That's right. I appreciate your enthusiasm, Aaron. Aaron says, try it Halloween season. You're not very busy, Dave.
Yeah.
You only see me here on YouTube. You don't see what goes on throughout my day between voiceover and producing this film. This movie is a whole different beast, and there's a lot of things that we have to organize, and a lot of meetings. I had a meeting last night with Bruce and Greg. I have a meeting tomorrow night. I'm fitting in the Two Dude show tonight. And
at
then
10 o'clock. That just goes to show you how both of our schedules are so wonky right now that we could only do this at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. And when you're producing a movie like this, and again, because we're doing a lot of roles, we're doing a lot of different roles. We're the producers, we're the writers, we're the directors, we're the production managers, we're the line producers, in terms of pre-production. Obviously when we get to production, we have, a crew and all that kind of stuff. And, we're not shooting the movie, and we're not the AD, and we're not the makeup artist, and we're not the actors. And obviously, it gets a little easier, but during pre-production, we're handling a lot of different hats, props master, all that kind of stuff, because it helps to say we know the jobs, we're capable of doing the jobs, and it saves money. Yes, we raised a lot of money to make the movie, but the money goes so fast. When you're making a professional film, as you know, Aaron, it goes quick. Like it goes like that. And so, am I so busy that I can't watch a movie? Well, no, of course not. But you'd be surprised how busy I am. And the meetings and all the things that, we're doing. And so, like, for example, so I had a meeting last night, 4-hour meeting over dinner last night with our DP, Greg. So I'm able to slip something in tonight for my channel with Tony. Throughout the day today, I'm doing voiceover work, and I'm doing that every day. And then I do voiceover work tomorrow, and then tomorrow night at 7 p.m., I have a meeting with myself and Bruce and our sound.
It goes by fucking quick, man.
It goes by quick.
The day goes by super fucking quick.
It does. Tomorrow night, I have a meeting with our, I'm not going to... I'm meeting to bring on somebody to the crew, we'll say. And then Friday, of course, is voiceover throughout the day. And then Friday night, I might be able to do a live stream on the channel, perhaps. And then Saturday, I have a production meeting with Bruce, who's coming over here, and that's an all-day thing. And then Saturday night, I have my channel members only horror movie night stream, right? And then
there you go. You got a little bit. You get a movie night. There you go.
Right, and I'm watching Evil Dead Rise. I chose one I hadn't seen yet for my channel members, right? And then the cycle just repeats itself. Next week, of course, I have other meetings that are happening with the movie and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very, very, very busy time. It would be easier.
Shit, I'm not even going to see The Exorcist until sometime late next week.
Well, that's it.
She's training right now, but she doesn't want me to go without her. She wants to see it with me. So
that's it.
That's just the circumstances. And
that's
of course
true.
I'm going to wait, so it's what it is.
Yeah. Oh, Aaron says a Halloween season when you're not very busy is what I meant. Oh, I got you. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, for sure, dude, for sure. Wah. No, but it's like it's the good kind of busy. It's exciting. I think what it is too is that because of the stress with SAG and the strike and everything, that's just that extra stress that's there. Because like I said, we're coming down to the wire. Are we going to be able to shoot at the end of November? Or not? Well, we're going to know in the next few weeks. And that's
stressful, not knowing.
It's stressful not knowing because it's going to cost us money if we have to move the shoot. And that's, like right now, hotels are booked.
And this is not talking about a production company that has money that means you're going to have to raise it again.
No. Now, so because this is a union shoot and it's a different beast than It's Me Billy Chapter 1, Bruce and I had to open up our own production company, like legit. We have our own production company now called Dark Chapter Pictures Inc. We are incorporated. It's a real business. And we also had to join the CMPA, which is the Canadian Media Producers Association. So I'm a part of that now as well. And so we do have our own production company now, which is great. But to Tony's point, I mean, this is still a crowd-funded project. And that's why, it's important. It's Me Billy Chapter 2. The Indiegogo campaign is still live. We're in demand. So if you want to pick up a hoodie, a t-shirt, a Blu-ray, there's one associate producer perk left, by the way. Let's see if we can get rid of that. That would be amazing. If we have to move the shoot, it's going to cost us money. You know what I mean? And so we're hoping we don't have to, obviously, for the creative reasons, but it will cost us. It'll cost us, I don't know exactly how much, but it'll probably be a few $1,000s that it's going to cost us to have to move the shoot. Because then we gotta move, the hotels. Now we gotta cancel that and move it to another date. We gotta move this and move that. We gotta make sure all the crew is available on the next, Okay, so we said now we gotta make sure the crew is available in January. We gotta make sure the actors are available in January. We gotta make sure Olivia is available in January. We gotta make sure the flights are, we gotta make sure the house is available. It's a whole thing. And so that's very stressful, thinking about that. And it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And again, we're not. It's legit. We are producing a legit low budget indie horror film here, and it's exciting. And I've learned a lot having to dive in at this level. And I'm certainly more wiser now than than I've ever been at producing, which is amazing. And but it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's just a lot of stress. It's exciting though because if it can all work out, the end result will be all worth it. You know what I mean? It'll be all worth it at the end. And that's why you do it, right? It's why you bust your ass and you live through the stress, because at the end, when people see who in that movie, it'll all be worth it. But it's a lot of stress right now and a lot of uncertainty, a lot of ambiguity. I like ambiguity in movies, but ambiguity when you're trying to get things made in a movie can be pretty stressful.
You got a couple more super chats, and I do got to get going because it's after midnight, and I got to work tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, geez, it is after midnight. Okay, let's get these super chats. Taylor Paulson sends in another $2, says, Shake It Off plays 8 or 9 times a day at my work. Oh, my God. Reese Wilson sends in $7.99. Thank you, Reese. Says, I'll say that Christopher Nelson's work on The Exorcist, that's the makeup, believer, is a definite bright spot. Okay, that's cool.
Well, I have no doubt on his skills.
Yeah, it looks really good. Looks really good. And Eddie Chase sends in a very generous super chat of $19.99. Thanks, Eddie. Says, Halloween 5 Tina is ditzy and annoying, selfish, but she has depth. She's vulnerable, aware, empathetic, feels guilt, stood up to Loomis, and heroic. She's not that bad. She's annoying, but one could argue that might be putting on an act. I agree with you. I mean, I don't think, Tina's like, the most annoying character of all time. I think it's a combination of the fact that she was the replacement for Rachel. Do you know what I mean? So it was, people felt
it wasn't just a replacement. It was like almost forced on us. Like, we're forcing this character on you. We know you like Rachel, but Tina's going to be the one to save Jamie, when really it should have been Rachel saving Jamie. Unfortunately for the character and the actress, she almost had a no-win situation, because fans were like, wait, what? You know what I mean? And it's not, unfortunately, it's not fair to her.
That's it. Yeah. Exactly. No, I think the same thing. But yeah, so I think we kind of agree with Eddie there. Taylor Paulson sends in $2, says, can you share good memories involving music? Well, Tony would probably be able to do that. Pick one good memory, Tony.
Jesus.
Motley Crue?
Well, I mean, I was going to pick a time when I was DJing.
There you go.
Because I DJ'd an event for a New Year's Eve party that was hosted by Usher and Christina Aguilera. That was cool. I got an hour set that night. I DJ'd a New Year's Eve party at an Atlanta show in front of 3,000 people. That was intense.
That's cool.
No, that it's cool. I give these legit performers who are out there performing stadium shows like Taylor Swift or whoever who's performing in front of 80,000, even for me to see 3,000 people in a venue was fucking intimidating as shit. It was like, whoa, damn, 3,000 fucking people. It's a lot of fucking people. But if we're going to talk concerts, I mean, Motley Crue, seeing Blink-1, getting to see Nirvana before Nirvana really took off. I got to see Kurt Cobain. Not many people can fucking say that.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, music has been a huge part of my life, and there's just so many memories that I could be here for the next hour talking about just the experiences as a DJ. And then, like Dave mentioned, going to concerts and seeing, my favorite bands, Nirvana, Motley, Blink-182 and whatnot. So that's it.
Yeah. And then Happy Sanjo has gifted a membership to, he gifted a membership.
What is that? How does that work now? This is the first time I've ever seen this.
Oh, well, so I have membership on my YouTube channel now. There should be a link actually pinned to the top of the chat. If you want to become a member here on the channel, there's 2 different tiers. And I closed my Patreon down and I moved basically everything over to YouTube membership because I think there's more engagement. It's easier for me because it's all on one platform. And if you become a member, like I said, there's 2 tiers. You get access to exclusive perks. So you'll get member only Q&As. There's the horror movie night, which is tier number 2 only. There's the Halloween only show called One Good Scare. So yeah, it's fine. And of course, member only polls, member only giveaways, all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of fun, help support the channel and that kind of stuff. And Happy Sanjo is a member here, and he gifted a member, which means he bought a membership for somebody else, which was very nice of him to do.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
You can do that as well. He gifted it to Tommy G76, was gifted a membership by Happy Sanjo.
There you go.
Pretty darn cool. And then that will last for a month, I believe. And then Tommy G can either renew it on his own. So
what happens in these membership things? I've been so out of the loop. I don't know what any of this. So how does this all work? And
well, it's so you'll notice that in the chat room, some people's names are highlighted in green with a little sort of badge beside them. And they are members on the channel, and I believe they can also send in member only questions, and it's not a super chat, but it's a question that will be highlighted green, and that means it comes from a member, and that's part of the perk of being a member as well. And you get access to exclusive emojis and badges. There's a butt date. Oh, there you go. Steve Ross put, you see there?
Oh, okay. I see it. So let's see. What's that? The Exorcist is the first one. That's Linda Blair. But Dave, I can't tell. Oh, that's Black Christmas. That's Billy.
Yep.
Billy. What's the next
Busta
one?
Rhymes. and then dog shit.
Someone's dog shit, and then
dog
you.
Shit,
okay,
and then me.
that's cool.
So, and I can add a bunch more. Those were the only ones that I added to start because I've only had this for a month now. Steve Ross, the badge beside his name, which is Linda Blair from The Exorcist,
right.
That tells me he's been a member for 2 months. If you're a member for, because you can have like certain badges for certain like milestones, like, you know, months. So if you become a new member, the badge will be me as Freddy Krueger from Dylan's New Nightmare. Then if you're and that's for like a month. And then when you hit to 2 months, it's Linda Blair. And then 3 months might be Victoria from It's Me, Billy. It might be Sam. I'm not sure. And then there's others. And I can keep going, which reminds me, I should go back and add some more. And I can add all sorts of emojis, but I just started with the Butt Dave emoji and all that kind of stuff. And it's fun. It's fun stuff. You know what I mean? And you support the channel and you get access to, you know, exclusive perks and shows and all that kind of stuff that others don't. So there's lots of channels that do it. And, you know, I decided to do it because it's easier because my Patreon was starting to suffer because it's a separate platform. I was having trouble keeping up. Whereas on YouTube, it's all here on YouTube. I don't have to go to another platform, get people to go join something else. It was just easier for me. And so far it's looking out to be a success. I think we have like 95 members or something. It's great.
Cool. Someone asked a question here, Sebastian. We'll take a non-super chat. Dave, will you be doing a stream covering the new Halloween news mentioned at H45? Was there some new shit?
No, probably.
I just learned today. By the way, want to know how fucking out of the loop I am? I just learned today about the fucking Halloween news about A24 possibly. But I had no fucking clue. Fucking clue. Listen, like a TV show, like no fucking clue. I'm so like, I don't know.
Tony is so out of the loop. He just learned today that Nick Castle was Michael Myers. I mean, exactly. It's wild. Could you imagine? No, so probably not.
What's the meme? I was today old when I found out.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I've had a lot of those over the years. Yeah. I would say that probably not, Sebastian, because you know, it's very similar to the news we were covering that I talked about last week, which is, you know, basically Malak Akkad said there's a kernel of truth to that. Now he might mean that it's just a kernel, or he's just saying that to be sort of, you know, kind of keep things hush hush, and that we could know some Halloween news before Halloween this year.
Cool.
You know, that's it in regards to the franchise, you know, and he wants to keep it at an elevated level. Some people have taken that to mean, oh, he wants to keep it elevated horror. I don't think that's what he meant. I think he just meant that he wants to keep the momentum going. So Michael Myers, despite the fact that Halloween Ends was not as well received, it still made over $100 million. He wants to keep Michael Myers Halloween sort of, you know, he wants to keep it going while the iron is hot. And that's what I think he means. Elevated. He wants to keep it going. Yeah. I don't think he means he wants to turn Michael Myers into, you know, Hereditary. I think he just means that he wants to keep it going. But beyond that, there's not much to talk about. It's very similar to kind of the news we learned last week. So, you know, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see.
Look, I'm in the corner now that Michael's been beaten to death. Like, I mean, it's like just fucking tap out, let it go. You know, because we've got so many Halloween movies. Having said that, since I didn't get an opportunity and I just learned all this shit tonight. The intriguing part to me is A24. I will say I would be lying if I would say that it's more like my eyes are looking this way, like, oh really? Okay. Like, but again, you know, like what could you possibly do to breathe new life into this franchise that just has been beaten to death?
It's so funny because I heard somebody today say, who was it? It was on Twitter or whatever, or X, whatever it is. Somebody said, I
just learned that today too. Twitter. I thought I was talking about Twitter. Like someone's like, no, it's called X. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, okay. Well, like, okay.
It's called X.
I'm fired.
Well, you're not on Twitter either, so
no,
that's also why. But no, I heard somebody today say that whatever they do, you know, don't do Laurie Strode again. That story and that character has been done to death. And I'm sitting there watching this or reading this because it was I think it was a text or a tweet. And in my mind, I'm thinking, what about Michael Myers? He's been fucking done to death too. I'm thinking they've all been done. What? Oh, and Michael hasn't? I'm like, I understand he's the brand and he's the star. Michael's the star, right? And you could, but
except in his last movie,
right? Yes, exactly. But I'm pumping. Nice. And I get that you could do a lot with, but you could do this with Michael. You could do that with Michael. You could have Michael go after people that aren't. I get that, but I share the same thing with you. I think, and of course, there's a high probability that they are going to do something with Michael because he is the brand. I get it. But I sit there and I think to myself, oh God,
what else can we do?
I'm so exhausted. And I feel bad saying that because, no, I don't feel bad. I feel like I feel like I come across as like not a fan or something. And it's like, I mean, here there was just the 45th anniversary convention and Malika Cod is there and he's talking about how, I forget if he said it there or if it was like in a written statement or something where he said that, Michael Myers were thinking about whatever. And I know that people probably cheered and woo, yeah, and everybody's there. And I feel bad because I feel like it's a party pooper thing that I'm doing, but it's really not. I sit back and I think, what the fuck? Like I can intellectualize it. I get it from a business perspective, sure. But I sit back and I think, Michael again?
The only way I think I could
Jesus Christ.
The only way I think I could get like super amped for that is if, let's just hypothetically say it lands on A24, right? That they are now taking the reins.
They're going after the TV rights as far as we know. So not theatrical, but TV.
And if A24 decides to use Michael, like what Crystal Lake is doing with Friday the 13th, and they want to do that with Michael, and they set it into as a period piece, and they set it into the 70s.
Well, that's or our idea going back to the 50s.
Or 50s. I don't see A24 doing that. No. They seem to if anything, A24 has nailed the 70s aesthetic.
They have,
look.
But here's the problem. You go back to the 70s, what are you doing? Just telling the same Halloween story over again?
I wouldn't do the same. No, I would change it up. I don't know how. Maybe instead of Laurie being the protagonist, you have it be Judith. Because we've never seen a story where Judith lives.
That's true.
And Michael's going after Judith. That would be the only way that you could tell a fresh story, like people say. I mean, I'm not saying you can't have the Laurie Strode character in there, but you know what? You can have the Laurie Strode character in the movie, and she's friends with Judith, but she gets her fucking neck sliced in like the second act.
It's true.
No, I don't have any animosity towards that character.
No, I agree.
But no, really. I mean, you could do the Judith story, and because there's so much to go there because it's never been done.
Yeah, it's you're bang on, and it's not that I don't love Michael Myers. Like I've said, Halloween's my favorite horror movie of all time. I love Michael Myers, love some Michael Myers. But I sit back now, and just so soon after ends, are we going to get an announcement before this Halloween is up about a Michael Myers thing? Maybe it's and if it is A24, and keep in mind that the deal could already be done. Okay. Like, I mean, it's not like A24 is going to sign a deal and then the next day these things are done way before. So it could already be done. But let's hypothetically say it is A24 and they're going to do a series. I sit back and I only speak for myself. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that are excited about this or this potentiality. But I sit back and I go, okay, so let's think of a direction. So what is the likelihood? Okay, they're going to do, let's say, no, we're going to do a Halloween series. Okay, so there's a few options. You're going to do an anthology where it's called Haddonfield and there's different things. Okay, that's one option. Another option is Season of the Witch, which I actually think is kind of fascinating and interesting. But I would love that. But it's not Michael Myers. So it's okay, all right. So what are you going to do with Michael Myers? A series with Michael Myers. Okay, well, I sit back and I think, okay, well, are you going to go back and you're going to tell the story of Michael at Smith's Grove? Well, I know there's lots of people that like that idea, but as I've often said, I go, okay, but here's the problem with that. Now you run, and it's not like I'm not going to watch. Sure, I'll watch, but I'm just thinking of the idea comes to me. I'm the producer. It comes to me and I go, well, here's what I'm concerned about with this. And I know that this is just me, purist Dave speaking, but this is how I feel. You run the risk of demystifying him unnecessarily if now we're going to tell the Smith's Grove years and we're going to...
No, that's not being a purist, because what you do is you take that iconic speech that Loomis tells Brackett in the house of watching Michael sitting there staring at the wall patiently.
But I don't need to see it. I don't need to see it. And
there's no events that take place in the hospital, because you basically take that speech that Loomis gives and it just becomes dog shit.
Well, yeah. And look,
it does.
I mean, obviously he's not literally, that's not literally all he's doing. He obviously eats and pees and I'm sure, whatever. But
took a dump.
Yeah. But it's just like, you don't want to demystify that 15 years. You don't want to do that.
No.
So then you say, well, what about Loomis's younger years where he's dealing with, but here's the problem with that. I've always believed that Loomis's life was pretty pedestrian, was pretty rudimentary, not rudimentary, but pretty pedestrian and normal, let's say, before he met Michael Myers. If you tell the Loomis years before he meets Michael Myers in 1963, so you set it between 1958 and 1963 or something like that, well, then to make the show interesting and compelling and scary, you're going to have other fucked up kids that he meets. And then you run the risk of sort of watering down Michael, because then Michael no longer becomes special because Loomis has already dealt with this kind of shit in the 5 years before he met Michael. I've always believed that it was set up. Loomis, a man of science, a psychiatrist, is baffled by Michael Myers. He's never seen this before. This is why when we meet Loomis in 1978, he's had 15 years sitting in a room, staring at a wall, not seeing the wall, looking back. Death has come to you. He's speaking like this because, remember, he's a man of science. Why is a man of science speaking about the supernatural in this way? Because he's baffled. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. I watched a 6-year-old child with this blank, but the devil's out. Why is a man of science mentioning the devil? You know what I'm saying? So it's Michael. Michael is the wow. He's never seen this before. You tell a Loomis, and I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm not saying it's all in the writing. I'm just saying that at face value, I'm like, well, I don't want to see a Loomis story, because to make it interesting, I feel like you're going to have to introduce, little Bobby Cunningham,
right?
Or, little
all of
Jimmy.
a sudden these new characters out of fucking left field,
and
right?
and it's this crazy weird, or whatever it is, and I just feel like you demystify Loomis then as well.
No, it's true. It's someone actually, Aaron Click here says exploring Michael having midichlorians or whatever the Phantom Menace introduced. No, there's some truth to that, because if you notice what Lucas does in Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith,
he demystifies the Force.
You don't hear anything about midichlorians ever again. It's only talked about in that first movie.
That's right.
But from that movie on, you never, because you took what was supposed to be Anakin being the chosen one, and to bring balance to the Force and whatnot. You took what was the mysteriousness behind all of that, and now you're explaining it to us on why Anakin is like that. Whereas, just leave it alone. We don't know why he is. He's space Jesus. Okay, it's it. It is what it is. We don't know why. We don't know where. It's just he's that balance between the light and the dark side, which I liked personally. I didn't watch the entire Ahsoka series, but the way I did watch the episodes where Hayden showed up, and of course, because that's my boy and I'm going to support him. The way the director, I don't know his name, but I know he's played a
Dave
hand
Filoni?
in Filoni, thank you. Yes. That he's done some other shit that fans are really happy with. The way he portrays Anakin in this, going back and being able to go back and forth between the light side and the dark side, I'm like, man, that's it. That's all Lucas had to fucking do back in the day. You didn't have to explain why Anakin's able to do it. That's just who he is, and I thought that was well portrayed in the Ahsoka series. But going back to like what Aaron was saying with regards to Michael, the more you unveil the mask, no pun, but the less Michael becomes.
Well, he's not special anymore.
He's not special anymore. Exactly.
And so, that speech, I watched him for 15 years. You're not supposed to know why. It's just eerie. I mean, obviously it's not meant to be taken literally. He's basically saying that he just didn't do anything. He was catatonic. Catatonic. Anyways,
something like that.
Yeah. I always get that mixed up as catatonic. Anyways, that's what he was. And so it just, it is what it is. And so again, it's not that it can't be done with great writing, a great vision, a great direction. It's just at face value. If this was brought to me and they wanted to know my thoughts, they don't give a shit what I think. They probably don't even like me if they even know who I am. Yeah. But that would be my concern. It's like, well, hey, it's not that it can't be done, but this is kind of are we sure we want to demystify his backstory? Do we want to demystify Loomis further? Do we want to show Loomis dealing with all kinds of crazy kids? And like, I don't think it's necessary.
I think the smart play is, if you want to breathe fresh air into this, if not do the idea that you and I talked about before, the noir style, set it back in the 70s. And Judith is now your focal point. You got a whole fucking, you could do a whole fucking trilogy with Judith as your lead actress, because we've not seen it. Judith has always been a footnote in this franchise. And we've never seen anything that's more centered around her. That's what I would do.
Steve.
If you're gonna breathe any type of fresh air, that's the way I would go and do it.
Yeah,
but I'm just like, can we just take a break?
As much as I say this, if
can we do Season of the Witch? No, but like you said, no Michael.
But I say this as a fan, and you say this as a fan, and different fans have different expectations, have different, there's lots of fans out there like, no, more Michael, the more the better. And listen, that's great. That's not wrong. These are just our opinions, but I feel like, I'm just a little Michael'd out. I don't know what else we do. And other than you start over again. But if you're going to start over again, keep the DNA, but tell a different version of the story, like you've been saying. So keep the DNA there. So it's still, but don't do Michael kills his sister on Halloween, and
We've already seen that with Rob Zombie remaking it, right?
Yeah, and so don't now just set it in 1983 and 1998. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't just kind of change the decade.
No, keep it in the 70s.
Well, no, but I just mean don't tell.
I got you.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so now instead of 63, it's 83. Instead of 78, it's 98. Don't do that. Try to. But I know it's difficult because you don't want to alienate the fans, and you don't want to. It's still got to feel like Halloween. And I don't know. I sometimes feel, and listen, I'm not Malik, but I sometimes feel you just did Michael Myers and Halloween. Let it marinate for a bit and try Season of the Witch. I know there's a lot of people that go, no, it'll feel. I don't believe that. I understand that the probability of them doing that is highly unlikely because it might be too much of a risk. But I think
I understand why. I get it. No, when you don't. Sure. But here's the thing: I would look at it like, okay, well then Blumhouse basically did that with Ends. You took the face of the franchise and basically sidelined him until the end of the fucking movie. You know what I mean? So. What's up? I mean, you're why can't you just take a risk? Take a gamble.
I would rather see a series called Haddonfield, and it has
it's called Halloween, like what Carpenter wanted to do originally, but it's shit that goes around like Halloween night, but in different towns. It doesn't even have to be.
It could be that. It could be that. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's many different ways to do it, right? You know what I'm saying? But you just tell the story. I don't know. Anyways, it's going to go on and on here. We're going to go on. But I say this as a fan, and I understand that different fans have different things they want. I say this as a fan. I'm Michael'd out.
You and me both, brother. You and me both.
I say it as a fan, and it's only because I'm satisfied. See, if I wasn't satisfied, I'd be eager to make it right. They better do fucking make it, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, no, I'm good. I mean, was the DGG trilogy everything I wanted it to be? Well, no, but it wasn't, resurrection, right. Although, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, I mean, I'm okay. it's fine. I'm okay. I'm good. There's 12 Michael Myers movies. I'm okay. And I say that as a fan.
Again, me personally, I can't speak for everybody else, but there's a reason why I only watched the first 4. I don't watch the other ones. You know, I'll watch at this time of year as it gets closer to Halloween.
But it's also sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I always kick it off with Halloween 3, and then I do the run. I do the Loomis, as you would call it, the Loomis trilogy. I do 1, 2, and 4, and I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm satisfied with that story. I don't need anything else. It ends, and that's to me is my Halloween.
That's it. And you know the thing is too is that it's I say it as a fan. I'm okay, you know, and. Because Michael, like it's still diminishing returns. It's still diminishing returns. And so we got to, and Malik knows about all of this. I mean, obviously I'm not saying anything he doesn't know, but I just hope I know Michael's the brand. I'm just trying to think, what do you do with Michael that isn't the series I don't want, or isn't the remake that I don't want? You know, because you don't want to alienate too much. I almost feel that you could reboot it again. I know he wants to strike while the iron's hot. I get it. I'm just, well, you know what? Hey, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's a TV series that A24 is interested in.
Cool. Jigsaw 44. That's a cool idea. What if Michael kills his parents and Judith's one who finds him, and, you know,
lots of different...
Killing Judith on Halloween night, kills the folks, you know, comes back to look for Judith, you know,
lots of different ways.
Maybe not 15 years later, maybe a couple of years later, you know, something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, you could.
That's what I think you need to, like, to your point, is if you're going to start over and you're not going to do a Loomis, the series, right? You know, you're going to start over, then you got to do something like that. Like, you got to change it up. You can't tell the same story over again about Laurie and Judith. And like,
but you know what's fucking crazy, bro? I mean, batshit fucking crazy that I don't get. If they literally made a Halloween like reboot, right, and basically told the same story, people would be excited to go see that. I don't understand it. I'm not saying you and I wouldn't go and see it just out of
course, because we're
curiosity.
Fans. We're fans.
Right. But it's not like I would be like, I'd sit there and I ask these people, like, really, that's the first choice you want? You want to be told the exact same story that you've already seen twice, by the way. Okay. Rob Zombie did it, you know? So like now this would be the third time that we're going to see that, like, really, like, you just wouldn't want to venture down maybe the road of Judith instead. No. Okay.
Make it a series. Tell a compelling story that people just can't, you know, like I don't know. Anyways, we're going to go on. I got to get this last super chat. Jeff Harris, 499 says, before you guys leave, I'm actually shocked Carpenter showed up to the H45 convention. He did. Well, listen, he was paid. Carpenter doesn't go anywhere. Carpenter has a guarantee when he goes to conventions.
Carpenter does not mind collecting a check, and he's been very open about that.
Yeah, and so I can tell you confidently that John Carpenter was paid to. Well, I mean, obviously there's a chance he wasn't, but knowing what I know about certain past conventions and things like that, I can almost say with certainty that he was paid to be there. And how much, I don't know, 10 grand, 20 grand, who knows? I have no idea. But he would have been paid to be there, something. And Jamie Lee Curtis was supposed to be there as well. Now, not signing autographs. John Carpenter showed up like the last couple of hours on the last day. So he wasn't there to sit at a table and sign autographs, much to the sadness of a lot of fans, I know. He was there to just do a panel. And it's unfortunate that Jamie Lee Curtis didn't show up. She was going to show up and then she backed out, and apparently it had something to do with SAG, which doesn't really make any sense because there were other SAG actors there as well. But it's too bad she wasn't there, because the panel consisted of Nick Castle, Tommy Lee Wallace, Nancy Loomis, PJ Soles, and John Carpenter.
Once again, confirming what I've always said about her, she doesn't do it for the fans. She does it for herself. Because I'm serious. You know, the fans are what made her. The fans are what made the reason why she's so revered in this franchise. It's because of the fans. So instead of maybe putting your fucking pride aside for 5 fucking minutes and be like, you know what, the fans are going to be there, I'm going to go do this for the fans. And if it weren't for the fans, you wouldn't have shit. So
and it's a couple of hours out of her time, because
right. Exactly.
You know, she's not like at the 20 or at the 35th, she was signing. So she was there all weekend signing.
You're talking a couple hours, shoot the shit. You're hanging out with the OG cast. I mean,
it would have been really nice to see Laurie in the middle with Annie and Linda on either side of her. That would have been a wonderful photo, even just to see them together. But she didn't. But John Carpenter showed up. He showed up, and he was there, and he was a typical self, and
that
he
must
showed
have been
up.
the video I saw circling around with him and Nick Castle walking in the background somewhere at a convention.
That's it.
And I was like, man, Nick Castle looked like he lost some weight. Like he looks, trimming up. Like, is he getting ready to play the Shape one more time?
That is exactly it. That's exactly the photo. He just showed up, and so it was great. And so I wasn't there, but I will say on behalf of all fans, thank you, John Carpenter, for doing that. You made a lot of fans.
Yeah, he didn't have to do that, but that's cool.
You made a lot of. I know you were probably paid to be there, but you still made a lot of fans really happy, and that was very nice of him to do. And hopefully, he'll come out to the 50th if he's still ticking. So you never know. You never know. All right, folks, listen. That's going to do it for this episode of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Thank you, of course, to my great moderators, Frank Riker, Tabitha Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, Cody Snyder, Andrew Stevens, and... Did I forget anybody? I don't think I did. Maybe I did. Oh God!
I don't even know if any. I don't even know if any of them were even in the chat tonight.
I don't think they were. I don't think
Actually,
they were.
No, I know Tabitha.
Tabitha might have been earlier.
Popped in for like a split second.
Thank you to the super chat questions as well. Hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight. Comment below and let us know your thoughts on the Thanksgiving trailer, your expectations for Thanksgiving, as well. The Exorcist Believer. Have you seen it? Have you not seen it? Are you going to see it this weekend? Jump into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. That'll do it for us in this episode. Tony and I will be back soon. Don't know when yet, but we will be back soon. Tony, any last thoughts?
I'm going to bed.
He's going to bed. All right, folks. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. It's Thursday now where we are. And we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.